All right, welcome to the Smark Foundation podcast. I am host Aaron. That is host Adam.
It is. It's me. It's Adam.
And we are here with episode 2 of season 1. As usual, every week we do our AEW and WWE recaps and then our Call It in the Ring segment. New stuff, new business on the board. We are now on Pandora, Deezer, and iHeartRadio as far as podcast goes. That means every podcast foundation is covered, except for, unfortunately, Apple users will still have to listen to us online on Safari because Apple is being a pain with our distribution. It is not our fault. We have definitely submitted everything we're supposed to submit. Apple is just being a pain. So we will get Apple up as soon as we can. But our podcast website is Safari friendly. So those of you who are listening through Apple, thank you. We do know there are people listening that way. And you can hear us on Safari through your iPhone. And it does support background play. So check us out.
Yes, thank you for all your support. We got our numbers, and we're actually really pleased with everybody who decided to tune into us. I want to give a big thank you to everybody who supported our first couple of episodes, first episode, two-parter, whatever you want to call our first foray, the first time that you're meeting us. Thank you for starting our journey along with us.
Yeah, we really appreciate those of you who listened to our first 2 episodes. The numbers were really actually surprising to us because we didn't expect much at all. So that was super cool. Also, we will talk about ratings a little bit on this show, but only ours because we think ratings for wrestling is bad faith take. So we don't
It
play that game.
sucks.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
don't play the
like
ratings game. Like what you like, and if you don't like it, don't watch it. Cool,
yeah.
cool.
What I'll
Uh,
say about ratings for wrestling is twofold. Number one, it means way less than it did before anyway, because so many people, including myself, have cut the cord with cable. Like if you're not
amen.
watching on cable, you're still watching. Those are still viewers. They're just not being recorded. So anything that Nielsen provides is not telling the whole story anyway.
That's
So
true.
it's
That's
kind of
true.
pointless. And secondly, I do care about Nielsen ratings to a point, and that's only to the point where you take that and you estimate however you can however the rest are watching your show. And I want those to be good enough, that rating to be good enough for wrestling shows to survive. To that, beyond that point is gravy. I want more wrestling on my TV, but I want more wrestling to be readily available, and I want ratings to reflect the interest that the common populace has in it, and I want that interest to be high. Beyond that, don't care.
Amen. Amen. And also, to be fair, we nobody even has to have this take about ratings, because both companies now have rights renewal deals in the bag. They're done. Congrats AEW. Congrats WWE. They're
Absolutely.
both on. They're both moving to streaming platforms. I already subscribed to. Super bonus for
Yeah.
me. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, I was thinking, I was like, if AEW moves to a streaming service, maybe I'll, buy, I'll subscribe to a streaming service. But then they were like, hey, we're going to be on Max. And I was like, heck yeah. I mean, I watch Game of Thrones anyway. This is just an excuse for me not to cut that cord 3 months, the 3 or 4 months a year when they're not showing a Game of Thrones series. So, go AEW, go WWE. These are both like people
These are
underestimate how
huge
massive.
steps.
Yeah, this is huge. Like
These are
Netflix, Max.
enormous
This is a
steps.
big deal. Yeah.
They are paving the way to the future. I mean, we've been on this path as a society, as a culture, for a long time now. Like people have been slowly cutting the cord over and over again. And WWE and AEW now are finally kind of, I wouldn't say leading the charge, but they're finally getting on board, and
Hmm.
they're finally hitching their wagon to what is clearly going to be the way going forward. Like I doubt that cable is even going to exist in the next 20 years.
Hmm.
Not as we know it
Hmm.
anyway. I mean, maybe even
Right.
10 at the rate it's going.
Yeah,
I'm no
and
expert, but like I see more. And most of my friends don't even carry. I was like the last household that I knew in my friends group that actually carried cable, and that was kind of specifically to watch wrestling. So
No lie, when I first started rewatching AEW, when CM Punk came back and I started like getting back into wrestling again after a long drought of not watching wrestling, I did, as a matter of fact, go to like Cox Cable or whoever the local cable provider is here in Amarillo now and got a cable box and subscribed to the package that had the correct channel that I needed, literally only to watch
Yeah.
wrestling and have pay per view access. And
Which
then,
by itself
yeah,
proves why wrestling is a great investment for cable channels because it's
mm-hmm.
cheap content that people clearly will spend an exorbitant amount of money on just to watch. So, I
Right.
mean, it's really huge upside for cable providers.
Right. All right. So I think we got a really good intro in there. We did explain why we won't be covering ratings, except for our own, which are really awesome for having only one episode in the bag. That's a two-part, 4-hour long bit of a dredge. We're not going to lie to you folks. We know what
Yeah.
it is, but we had fun
Yeah.
making it, and we're glad that a bunch of you had fun listening to it. You can find us also now on Linktree if you want to find any relevant links, including to our YouTube channel, which we'll start getting videos shortly of smaller clips of our content and full episodes. And also our Patreon, which will soon have subscriptions opening up, or our merch store, which is live now with a t-shirt and a hoodie with our logo on it. So you can make sure you get your Smark Foundation wear if you want. We also keep things very reasonably priced. We are not the $50 t-shirt sellers around here. We're the $20 t-shirt guys. So $20 t-shirt, $45 hoodie. If you want one, grab one. They'll get it to you. I think it's about a 3-week shipping time from our distributors, but you'll have your stuff as soon as possible, and they're really good quality. I made sure that the materials we're using are of a quality that I would wear, and if I won't wear it, I won't sell it. So,
And plus, it's got the logo that I designed, which
oh
would be
yeah,
really,
Adam hand drew our
if you
logo.
want, yeah, if you want to make me happy, I would love to see people out in the wild wearing a design that I drew. Like it'd be really cool, honestly. Like I know I'm no graphic artist or anything, but like I'm really proud of of that, and it would be cool to see people wearing my stuff. Not gonna
That's
lie. So if
yeah.
you like me, just do it for me.
Heck yeah. All right. So got our intro in. Who do you want to go first? Me or you this week, Adam?
We were gonna go. We obviously to you know, we just mentioned that the first episode was kind of a slog. And
Right.
again, thank everybody for going through it. I know that, you know, we tried to make it as entertaining as we could, but you know, still working out the kinks. So to alleviate some of that, we're gonna be toying with a slightly tweaked format. Uh Instead of just doing WWE and then AEW, we're gonna go in chronological order. So
Mm.
Aaron's gonna start out with Raw, and then I'm gonna be tagged in,
Oh
and
yeah, tag
yeah,
team.
we're gonna tag team this. I'm gonna cover Dynamite, and then I'm gonna tag Aaron back in for SmackDown, and the hot tag will be me. Actually, no, the hot tag won't be me because there was a pay per view this week.
That's right.
So
There's a pay per view
no,
this week.
so you'll get the Hope spot, and I'll tag in, and then they'll
Yeah.
work me over, and I'll play Ricky Morton, and then you'll get the hot tag and finish the spot.
There we go. That works for me. Tag team wrestling the reviews every week, right here on the Smark Foundation
That's the thing. You
podcast.
know what? That's what we're gonna do from now on. We'll figure out names for it, but each of these little mini segments here is gonna be tag team themed from now on.
Oh
Let's
heck
just
yeah.
decide that right
I'm
for
with
right
it
now.
right now. Heck yeah.
Boom.
Bam.
Yeah. Love it.
All right.
See, now you guys are part of the process too. Don't you feel special?
They are. Yeah. Everybody, you're hearing our process live. All right, so here we go. We'll start with Raw. All right, so Jey Uso opened Raw, a brand new Intercontinental Champion, which is totally awesome. They added some blue to the belt. I love that. Kind of old school.
It was
They
necessary.
it was
It's
it was
in
kind of a
it's in
bland belt.
it looked like a hubcap.
Yeah, yeah, but they added that blue, really made it pop. I think it really made the overall look of the title a lot better. So he's out there getting emotional, almost crying a little bit. I mean, the guy's been around a long time. This is his first singles championship. It's kind of an emotional deal. And then Braun Breaker interrupts him. And now, when I saw this, I thought, what an asshole. Okay, because I'm obviously supposed to think that, but He comes out and he does the weirdest thing. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. The guy who just lost the title, who is known to be like this giant machine, going off of his dad and his uncle, he's like a mean guy, and he comes out and he gives Jey Uso props and he shakes his hand and leaves. What? Like, I was literally confused. I thought he was gonna, maybe hit the crowd, pop back up on the other side, give him a spear. No, nothing happened. He just, hey man, I respect you. Shakes his hand, leaves. Like, okay, but build me a face v face feud. Let Braun Breaker be a face if he wants to. People want to cheer him. People want to cheer him.
Look at his work. People want to cheer him.
He's fantastic. So, okay. Yeah. Weirdest thing I've seen as far as like an ex-champion to new champion dynamic on the very next night that, they're available to talk to one another. But still, super cool. Moving on. Xavier Woods beat Rey Mysterio after he rolled him up after removing his mask. Xavier Woods is on a freaking freight train to a heel turn. The New Day is about to break up. At least that's the way they're signaling it. Unless they have some kind of Kane and Daniel Bryan version thing where they have a psychologist come into it or something like that and do therapy, which would be cool.
Get Dr. Shelby back.
Yeah, get Dr. Shelby back. Unless they do something like that, Xavier Woods is 100% being a heel. Karrion Kross kind of started all this. He's been kind of poking at Xavier Woods and The Miz about kind of turning on their partners and how they're not, their partners aren't good enough for them or vice versa. Karrion Kross and the Final Judgment or whatever they're called. I don't remember what that's called. Final Testament. Yeah. There we go. It's Final Testament. It's kind of a Judgment Day light to me. They're about as effective as House of Black and AEW. Unfortunately, like, they look scary, but they're booked like shit. And they got Paul Ellering, which is a waste of Paul Ellering. He's never on the mic, and that's a waste. Period.
What's the point of that?
Why do you even have the guy if you never have him on the mic? Karrion Kross does all the mic work for that group. So why is Paul Ellering even there, and why are you wasting that poor man's talents? Now, anyway, so Xavier Woods rolled up Rey Mysterio, beat him after he removed the mask. The match was serviceable. It was all right. I hate it. I'm giving it up because I hate mask spots. I hate disrespecting a luchador's mask. I'm from Texas, where lucha's a big deal down here, as much as it is in Mexico, because it's here with us. There's a large Mexican population. I'm half Mexican myself. We love our lucha down here. Don't play with the man's mask. I don't like it. I will never like it. Even if I know it's going to happen. It happens in AEW. It happens in WWE. I'm going to see it. I'm going to have to live with it. Doesn't mean I have to like it. So, bam, I don't like that very much. Zoe Stark.
What if it's leading to like a lucha de apuesta?
I mean, okay, but
because you know that he's not going to lose the mask. It would be Woods losing his hair.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. My only thing is, it's happening a lot lately. I feel like, especially in AEW, which I don't cover, but for my consumption, it happens a lot, and I feel like it should happen less. So that's kind of where I'll leave it as far as that goes. The match was serviceable, though. It wasn't a bad match. I just don't like mask spots, so kind of ruined it for me at the end. But it did service in having Xavier beat a really over face in a really crappy way. To kind of further his, heel turn. He's wearing black now, which I get. I mean, I know their gear is kind of like Power Ranger Power Ranger throwback. And he's supposed to be like Black Ranger, but he's wearing black. He usually wears he usually wears purple or something like that, and so, then we had Zoe Stark defeating Lyra Valkyria after the Pure Fusion Collective interfered.
Such a crappy name.
Yeah, I don't like the name. I don't like the name. But then at the end, they're actually beating down Lyra Valkyria, and Katana Chance and Caden Carter show back up, make their return, which was cool. They got a nice big pop. They did the faces stand tall thing. There was a little segment afterwards where they're immediately inserting themselves in the women's tag division, which, to be honest with you, I would rather see Katana and Caden versus Bianca and Jade than I would see them versus Alba Fire and her partner again. I'm sorry, I can't remember the girl's name right now. I don't really. I've only seen a couple of their matches. I'm not that familiar with them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I even cut out of NXT UK before that was like, and UK was great for a while, but then it was just so difficult to watch for a while too.
Right.
Pandemic
Right.
really hit it hard.
Yeah. Pandemic hit
But yeah, I
everybody
can't
hard.
remember her name either.
Right. So then we had CM Punk and Drew McIntyre inside a cell for their final face to face before Hell in a Cell of Bad Blood. And CM Punk said he's been away from his wife and sleeping in a hotel because he's become a monster and he does not want to expose his wife to the monster he's become. And so he's going to end Drew McIntyre so that he can go home to his wife. And
Sounds awfully familiar.
I don't remember what Drew McIntyre said because Punk went second. And that's like, but it was very much I'm going to end your career. And Punk was very much like, I'm
Yeah,
sending you back to back to Scotland in a box. So they did that. They're both very very angry. It's very very believable because apparently they really don't care for each other. Although
yeah.
lately I've seen reports to contrary that they do kind of like each other now. So but I'm not in the rumor game. I'm in the what's going on screen game. And what's going on stream is that they hate each other, and it's freaking believable. And I was stoked for this match, and it delivered in every way possible. We'll get to that here in a minute. Next, after that, we had R-Truth returning for a segment where Braun Strowman was having a throwaway interview. R-Truth intervened in it, or no, Miz intervened in it and was talking to R. Strowman about how he interrupted the match that Miz was supposed to have with Bronson Reed. Miz should really just thank God he didn't have to have that match with Bronson Reed because right now he's kind of a throwaway character and Bronson Reed is destroying people. So, um, but then R-Truth interrupted the two of them, and so R-Truth's back after being attacked by said, Bronson Reed and completely destroyed. Um, which is kind of a foreshadowing for something later in the show, and I didn't realize it until after, but you really don't most of the time. But it was foreshadowing for something later on in the show involving said people. Now, well, in a couple of ways, actually, because R-Truth then discussed with Miz after Strowman left about how he knows that Karrion Kross has been picking on him. So he got us a match with AOP. So this is like the second or third tag match that Miz didn't want to have that R-Truth just rolled up and was like, hey, we got this tag match. R-Truth funny as usual. I love R-Truth. Cool.
Did I mention to you that the last time they came through the town, I actually saw R-Truth at the grocery store? Yeah, I walked by it and I said, "What's up?" He's like, "Yeah, what's up, man?"
That
That was the extent of it, but I thought it was cool.
is pretty, especially because you said what's up to him.
Yeah, I don't think he quite got the bit that I was doing because I think he would just wanted to get something and leave because people recognize him everywhere. So
right. So after that, Judgment Day had a 6-man tag against LWO. It was Carlito, McDonough, the bobblehead, and Dirty Dom versus the LWO guys. Liv Morgan interfered, and Judgment Day got the win, as is tradition. I don't know what to say about it. I'll move on. We're gonna get to Judgment Day when I do my things I like and things I didn't like about this episode. Um, then Gable defeated Kofi Kingston in a match. Hold on. Before that, hold on. I a little bit ahead of myself. Judgment Day beat down the Terror Twins after said 6-man tag match. Like Finn came out, they're doing a promo. It's very basic. Terror Twins come out to raise some hell. Of course, they were outnumbered. They get beat up. So once again, Judgment Day standing above Rhea and Damien, who are supposed to be being built to be like some of the baddest people in the world. But
I mean, that's believable.
I mean, I guess yeah.
Let's be real.
It's like 5-on-2. I guess it is believable. Yeah. Okay. So then Chad Gable defeated Kofi Kingston, but it was after Xavier Woods interfered in the match. He grabbed Gable's leg, I guess, to trip him up. But when he did it, Kofi was setting up for Trouble in Paradise. So he went for the move. Gable's leg got held, and Kofi crashed out. So Xavier advertently or inadvertently has cost Kofi the match there. Kofi's understandably upset, but he didn't really take action. Um, either way, another point in the Xavier traveling further onto the heel side. I think it'll come out later that was on purpose, but I don't know. Then after that, Sami Zayn and Gunther had their face to face. I love this angle because I love Sami Zayn, and I also really like Gunther. I mean, how can you not? The guy is he is what a heel champion should be. Sami Zayn is what an underdog babyface should be. This is a classic mix. It's wrestling booking 101, and it's
Plus, there's
working.
the intrigue built in that Sammy's the only one on the main roster besides the Survivor Series matches we don't
Well,
count.
yeah,
To beat the guy.
yeah, and he
So
brought that
like,
up.
so it's realistic to think that maybe Sammy could do it again because he's the only one who's done it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's what Sammy brought up this time. He threw it right in Gunther's face. Like, I'm the only person to have beaten you. And you're afraid to give me this shot. And then he said, well, Gunther went on about how he also brought his family to WrestleMania. And they got to watch him lose to you. And then he spouted off a German line. He's like, that's what my dad told me. You know what it means? It means I had to fly here all the way from Austria to watch you lose to a bum like Sami Zayn. And he's like, and the answer's still no. And then Sami Zayn's like, well, how do you say in German to your dad that he raised a coward? At which point Gunther unleashed and beat the hell out of him. But when he got up, he picked up the mic and said, hey, yeah, you want the match next week on Raw? That I thought, well, yeah, okay, I had the same look on my face. It's next week on Raw, not at Bad Blood. What? But then you think about it, and Bad Blood kind of already has 4 or 5 matches that are being built for Bad Blood. So if you go by the WWE pay-per-view formula, this don't fit. And we'll get to something else on SmackDown that should have been on Bad Blood that didn't fit either. But yeah, on Raw next week. So our next episode, we'll cover this match. Unfortunately, not this Bad Blood episode.
Hey, you know what though? I mean, that's good for them. I would, traditionally I'd put that on pay-per-view, pure PLE or whatever. Yeah. But fact of the matter is, like, hopefully the same people who complained that they gave away Ricochet and Will Ospreay on free TV are saying the same stuff about you're putting the world title on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Better bring that same energy, guys. Just saying.
Right. So then after that, we had a Wyatt.
Not be a hypocrite. Be consistent.
Amen. So then after that, we had a Wyatt 6 video that gave a little hint at the end that Alexa Bliss might be returning soon, which is totally cool. I'm down for that. I think she's been out for maternity leave, if I'm not mistaken. Which,
yeah.
Always cool to see people back when they weren't hurt. They were just out there living life. So, I'm glad she was out there living life. I'm also glad to see her back. So, then after that, we had the Awesome Truth versus AOP. One thing I'm going to say about this match, the result of this match made me happy for one reason and one reason only. And I think it's because when they come out together and sing the song together, Miz is always offbeat. I'm sorry, but he is the stereotype of a white person who cannot do hip hop. He cannot do the hip hop. Please stop, Grandpa.
You got to give him credit for trying, though. Like,
right?
God love him. Like,
right.
He's out there doing it.
Right. So anyway, they have the match. Truth does the John Cena light thing. Then he starts getting all the heat. He goes for the hope spot. He tags in Miz for the hot tag. Miz immediately turns around, boots him in the face, and jumps out of the ring. Tears off his Awesome Truth shirt on the way out. So, and Karrion Kross, who is ringside, is laughing his head off. So Karrion Kross has had an effect, I think, on both Xavier Woods and The Miz, who would both, by the way, be much needed injections to this Final Testament project. That would make it would make it NWO huge, but it would, like, as people wise, but it would definitely help as far as competent workers with good mic skills. Then Strowman and Bronson Reed had a match together, the last monster standing, so a last man standing match with two big meaty men. Strowman wins. They went everywhere. Strowman went off the top through the announce table. They did.
Saw a clip of that. I love the spot. I love that spot.
And then they did a superplex and collapsed the ring.
Bigger fan of that spot.
And then they put the stairs in the ring, and Bronson Reed ended up face down on the stairs, but Strowman was selling down, and then Seth Rollins shows back up for the return after being put out in kayfabe by Bronson Reed, and does the stomp to Bronson Reed on the stairs, and then right as the referee's about to hit 10, Strowman stands up. So Strowman wins.
which
Rollins is
is
back.
which is impressive. I just saw on Twitter like a couple hours ago that apparently Braun Strowman tore his groin 2 minutes
Ooh.
into that match. So he wrestled that entire match with all of those big spots with a torn groin.
Right.
I have my issues with some of the things that Braun Strowman has said in interviews and on social media, but that man is tough as nails, and I gotta give it to him. I really do, because that I can't imagine how terrible a torn groin must feel.
Right.
Thank gosh I've never had it happen to me.
Right. Now, really quickly, the things I didn't like and the things I did like. A couple of things I did like starting off. I loved CM Punk versus Drew inside the cell for that final face-off. Security all between them, obviously hating each other. It was cinema, as the children would say. I know you hate that, and I only did
I
that to irritate
do.
you just a little bit, but
Like, yeah, whatever.
but I also liked Sami Zayn and Gunther face to face, and Sami Zayn really riling Gunther up, Gunther showing some emotion for once, which is uncharacteristic of him, which makes this even more intriguing because Sammy's the only person who's beat him, and now he's kind of he's showing emotion, and oh crap, the ring general is shook by something. Something I didn't like about the show. I never liked Judgment Day. I never like Judgment Day segments. I never like watching Rhea Ripley get beat up and going down and looking weak because I know she can beat up most of the dudes on that roster for realsies. So I just don't like the Judgment Day segments. I just really don't like Judgment Day that much. Some of their matches are entertaining, but really I'm there in that program for Damien and Rhea. I'm not there for any members of Judgment Day. Although I will give Dom his props for his ever continuing nuclear level of heat. Until the day they stop booing that man, I'll stop giving him that prop every single week. But until then, his mere presence is like Boo City. I will give him his props until he's somehow able to eliminate his own nuclear heat. He'll probably have to shave his mullet for that.
It's
I
a
don't
pretty
know.
long half-life on that, let me
Yeah,
tell you.
yeah, pretty long. And then another thing I did like, I kind of hate the entrance to R-Truth and Miz together because of Miz's offbeatness and my love for hip hop. So I did like Miz kicking R-Truth in the face. God, I love R-Truth, but I really loved him getting kicked in the face here because that means I'll never have to hear that entrance again, at least for a while. And when I do hear it again, I'll be like, hell yeah, Awesome Truth is back together. But right now, hell yeah, they're broken apart. And something weird's going on with Miz and Xavier Woods, and they're doing the thing. And now for the big thing, the foreshadowing I was talking about earlier, R-Truth returned after being destroyed by Bronson Reed. Foreshadowing said return of Seth Rollins, who was also destroyed by Bronson Reed a week before R-Truth was destroyed by Bronson Reed. So bringing them back in the same week totally makes sense, but it was a bit of foreshadowing. I don't know if they played it that way, but that's the way it turned out. So good on them.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, that was Raw for the week. And now I'm going to tag in my boy Adam.
Again, I'm going to try and do this as speedily as I can. Match number one for Dynamite tonight is their big 5-year anniversary show. Not their 5th anniversary, their 5-year anniversary. Just like WrestleMania 25 wasn't the 25th anniversary, it was the 24th anniversary. It was the 25th show. There's a difference. People need to learn it. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, this was their big anniversary show of 5 years on the air. They opened up with the hot opener with the international title, Ricochet challenging Will Ospreay for the belts. I'll go over the good parts in it. I'm just going to run down the card as is. Get the major points out there, and then we'll go back and talk a little bit about it. So the winner initially was a no contest. There was a double pin after Ricochet poisoned Ronald Ospreay, but he came back with like one of those exhausted, last breath hidden blades, and they fell on top of each other. They did the double pin thing, which initially was ruled as a draw by the referee, but both participants protested, so they got word back from the back that Tony Khan said that the match should continue. They went at it for another 60, 90 seconds, something like that. After it was restarted, another hidden blade, and it looked like Ospreay was going to retain. And then Konosuke Takeshita comes out from the back after having earlier. I forgot about the setup to this. Don Callis was there with Kyle Fletcher, and Kyle was wishing Ospreay good luck,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Yeah, oh, good luck, but we gotta go." So they weren't going to be there for the match, and as Ospreay kind of leaves, like, oh, okay, well, all right, bye. You see Takeshita kind of like giving him the side eye.
Yeah.
That's the last shot of it. So I should have said that, but that sets up Takeshita coming in, and they never really said what it was. I imagine that officially it's a no contest, but
Mm-hmm.
technically, if you're going by the rules, even though he did attack both of them, he attacked Ospreay, and then the bell rang. So that would indicate that that was the decision. So Ricochet technically wins by DQ. Would be my interpretation of it. I'm sure in the record books they'll probably tweak it because kayfabe is a thing, and they'll say it's a no contest or whatever. But after the bell, ding 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 ding, he did then attack Ricochet.
Okay,
So,
so Ospreay would win by DQ.
oh, Ospreay,
Yeah.
you're correct.
Yeah.
You're correct.
But yes, but yeah,
I
your
misspoke, but
interpretation, yeah, okay, so your interpretation is correct, other than the misspeaking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
So yeah, Ospreay wins by DQ. That's what I
yes,
thought
Ospreay
too.
would, yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, that's how it normally would go. I'm sure, like I said, kayfabe is still a thing when they want it to be, so they'll probably like record it as a no contest, even though I would only really buy that if the bell sounded after he attacked both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, that's a little bit of a stretch, but at least that's kind of, regardless. Match gets a thumbs up for me. We'll go back to it. Segment number one, non-wrestling segment number one. Renee interviews Mercedes Moné with Camille. Moné does this kind of funny thing where she presents a video package of all of Dynamite's best moments,
Yeah.
and it's just all footage of her, and that's that's kind of fun, honestly. MVP then comes in and like talks her up a little bit, kind of like he did with Swerve talked up Swerve last week, gives her a business card. So this new Hurt Business / syndicate might have the Monet Corporation attached to it. I mean, could be the funding or whatever. I don't know.
I would deal with her a lot better if somebody else talked.
I mean, MVP is great at that,
and he is. Yeah,
and frankly, like it would distinguish it from its previous iteration because it would have women in it. Cool. Which is cool.
Sure.
Segment number 2. This was after the commercial. Renee then interviews the Guns. I still don't know why they don't call themselves the Gun Show or something like that.
Yeah, I don't like Bang Bang Gang at all.
I like Bang Bang Gang, but I don't like the Guns. It's just dumb. It's plain. It's simple. It doesn't indicate any kind of personality. Like they were the Gun Club with their dad, and I know that once they turned heel, that they wanted to distance themselves from their dad. So a name change may have been necessary, but just the Guns is lame.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Now, interjecting just a little bit with a question here, okay? Because they call them the Bang Bang Gang exclusively now. There is no Bullet Club Gold anymore. That's over. But we still have Forbidden Door. There's still AEW obviously having a working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Was there ever any kind of report as to why they could not call them Bullet Club Gold anymore?
I don't think it was a matter of they couldn't. I mean, I think it was just they started calling them that, and people it just caught on, and so they just decided to go with the thing that the fans liked more. Like
okay.
I didn't really see many Bullet Club Gold signs, but I saw some Bang Bang Gang signs.
Oh yeah.
So I think they probably just went with what was popular and what they could own exclusively. because they
Yeah,
probably had to
yeah,
share rights with Bullet Club Gold,
yeah.
but
That's
Bang
true.
Bang Gang can be AEW exclusive rights. So
Yeah,
that would be my suspicion.
fair, fair. Okay.
But yeah, they were getting interviewed by Renee. Their interview wasn't really anything special. It was just to set up Hangman and Page, take them out from behind with the chair. Which, you know, if you're a heel, especially Adam Page, who is not a heel but is a heel,
It's not a heel.
he's not a heel, but he doesn't
He's
have friends
definitely doing the
anymore,
heel thing.
and
Yeah.
all the people that he's facing have friends. So he's got to equalize somehow. So it's showing once again the whole thing that I think of is baby faces are dumb, heels are smart.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
baby faces are just lucky in the end, or just
Yeah.
better in the end. Like, but like all the storyline stuff that goes into a baby face versus heel storyline, the heels have to be smarter to get the one up on the baby face constantly
Yeah.
until virtue wins out in the end by its for its own sake.
Right.
So like I always say, yeah, baby faces are stupid and heels are super smart.
Yeah, that's pretty much
Unless
how
the
it has
gimmick
to
is
work.
that they're dumb heels, which is uh rare enough that it makes it noteworthy. You know, it's the exception that proves the rule kind of deal. But yeah,
Yeah.
so Hangman doesn't have friends, so he has to take out the guns before his match later on with Juice Robinson to ensure that they don't get involved. Because even though those guys are kind of technically baby faces, that they're still the Bang Bang Gang. They'll still
Yeah.
get involved.
Oh yeah,
Like
they're still gonna
it's
do.
yeah,
They're still gonna do
they're
heel
still gonna do the
things.
thing. They're
Yeah.
gonna do the thing. So you know, Hangman, smart.
Yeah. Definitely.
Segment number 3 was in the ring, TV time with the Learning Tree. Jericho brags about his role in the creation of AEW, which, for I mean, is true. You can't
It
take
is
that away
true.
from him.
Yeah.
Says that he wants to be the Nueve after
Hmm.
headlining Arena Mexico and then pinning Mark Briscoe in that match last week. So he officially makes his verbal challenge for the ROH World Title. Briscoe then comes out and he's like, "Yeah, a spade is a spade. You're a legend, but I'm gonna beat you." And then Jericho says that Mark isn't as good as
Hmm.
Jay, and we'll get to that later. Uh, Mark tags him real quick, but everybody else is waved off, which is
Hmm.
good. Which is good.
Yeah.
I like the drawing of that out. But he's like, okay, we'll handle this later. Segment number 4 was a pre-tape promo with Darby Allin. He's sitting on a car and he's talking about basically standing up for himself because I mean, well, look at him. Like he's always been that 5'10", 170 pound, guy that
Yeah.
everybody thought they could pick on, and
Thank God.
he learned to
Yeah.
stand up for himself. Good for him. So he issues an open challenge for Wrestle Dream. Hey, you want to, people are having trouble believing in me, and heck, I'm having trouble believing in myself. So you know what? We're gonna fix both of those problems with an open challenge at Wrestle Dream, and I'll show you who I am.
Okay.
Match
Wait.
number 2.
Interject right here. Interject right here.
Sure.
Have a little fun with this segment. Who is it? Who's gonna come out at Wrestle Dream and be the
Oh, I'll
open
tell you.
challenge? Who is it?
I'll tell you because we find out later that week.
Oh, do we?
You are not caught up on Collision, sir.
I am not, sir.
No, we'll find out, and you,
Okay.
I guarantee, will like who it is.
Okay. Cool.
Guarantee you.
Cool. All right. Go ahead.
Hangman Page versus Juice Robinson's match number 2. Starts out in a brawl. And I'm convinced that they patterned parts of this match from the WrestleMania 13 match with Brett and Austin, because like there are parts like because they don't I mean that match starts out in the ring, but it quickly goes to the outside. They brawl all up and down. This one didn't start in the ring. They started fighting on the ramp, but they go all up into the fans and everything. And they set stuff up outside. Not it doesn't ape the most famous part with the double turn, but there are parts that I'm pretty sure they took from that, took some inspiration from that, and I will never fault. That's one of my favorite matches of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So I
It's a good
will
one.
always give it up for that. This match gets a thumbs up. Paige hits the Deadeye and pins Juice after hitting a low blow unseen by the referee. I don't think he needed to do it. Like, there was nothing that said that he was in danger of losing, really. I think he was just like, ugh, I'm done with this. Let's just get it over with. That kind of thing. Afterwards, Hangman tries to, he used the leather strap that Juice brought from last week's Lumberjack match. He brought that to the ring and tried to use it earlier, but was stopped before he could get DQ'd by doing it. And he tried to hang Juice over the top rope with it again. And then Switchblade Jay White comes from out of nowhere and makes his glorious return. And it just beats the crap out of him.
Oh, yeah.
And
I was happy to see Jay White.
They go back out into. I think that's why they took care of the guns, so that this return would be more impactful and would be a surprise. So they go back out into the audience where they had set up a table but hadn't gone through it, and then they go through Chekhov's table, and Jay White puts him through it. I thought it was great. Segment number 5, Renee interviews scapegoat Jack Perry as he's coming in off his bus. Nobody steals the bus. I'm waiting on it. But he comes off the bus, and Renee asks him how, it doesn't matter what she asks him because they immediately get interrupted because this is AEW and nobody can do an interview without getting interrupted. And, but it's Shibata, so I don't care. It's Katsuyori Shibata. Challenges for a TNT title match, and Perry initially says, I'll think about it. He goes away. Shibata goes back to his phone to type something out, and before he can get to do that, Perry blindsides him, throws him against the bus, and then accepts the challenge. Yeah. Segment number 6, backstage promo with Bryan Danielson. It's just, I'm sure it was live, but it's not an interview segment. It's just a promo. He says, F John Moxley, which echoes the online promo that he cut last week.
Yeah.
And he lays down the match. He kind of just runs down the stipulation for the main event tonight, where it's title for title with him and Okada, but because of the Continental Classic, mostly sticking to the 20 minute time limit. If the match goes past 20 minutes, then the Continental title is no longer on the line, which I actually thought was kind of cool. I actually dug that.
Yeah, I like the way they did that. Katie looked at me like real confused when they announced it, and I explained it to her, and she accepted it. I don't know if the average casual fan would like it. I liked it. Yeah. I like the way they did it. So.
Chatter online that I saw on my Twitter timeline was mixed, but I liked it. Okay. Match number 3, Dr. Britt Baker returns. They were in Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
so
Pittsburgh.
It was a huge homecoming for her.
Mm-hmm.
They love her. They love her as much as they love Kurt Angle in Pittsburgh, which is mind-boggling to think.
Yeah, it is.
It's Kurt freaking Angle, but like, they absolutely love and adore Britt. Keep having her win in Pittsburgh. Do the thing that WWE for so long refused to do. But yeah, she had a good match with Serena Deeb. Baker won with the lockjaw. There was no funny business or anything like that. It was good. It was great. Thumbs up. Match number 4 was Private Party versus Iron Savages. This was a glorified squash match, so it doesn't get a rating from me because it was mostly an angle. But within about 2 minutes, Private Party hits Gin and Juice, gets the win. Afterwards, Zay gets on the mic and challenges the Young Bucks for a shot at the World Tag Team Championship. And the Bucks actually come out in person on the stage and say, hey, you know what? We have a longer overrun tonight. Maybe we should do this. So they come down like halfway down the ramp. It's like, you know what? We're not going to waste one of our limited wrestling dates on Pittsburgh, classic heel stuff. And that served as a kind of a distraction. Scapegoat came back out, and he's just like, He beat the crap out of them, and allowed the Young Bucks to come in. Yeah, but then Shibata came back to even things out, and Christopher Daniels finally makes his way to the stage and makes a trios match for Rampage. So we actually on the week I decided not to cover Rampage, we actually get big stars with storyline ramifications on Rampage.
Right.
Go figure.
Yeah.
For the record, that trios match, I looked up the results. The baby faces won that. So Shibata and Private Party beat the Young Bucks and Jack Perry, and Private Party beat them in the same exact manner. They were gonna go for the TK driver, but they got intercepted, and the victory roll, the same exact way that they first beat them on that second episode of Dynamite. So we're doing callbacks to the early stuff, which is I appreciate. Segment number 7, Renee interviews MVP, who was already out there. I don't know why she just didn't do it then, but whatever. He says he has an announcement. Prince Nana comes to interrupt, and he's like, hey, you got in my face. People keep forgetting that I was a wrestler too. So MVP says, well, you know what? That sounds like a complaint, and that's not really my department. Allow me to introduce the head of my complaints department. The camera pans over, and it's Shelton Benjamin. Knew he was coming. Big fan of it. We find out later on via Twitter, and I think I saw it being reported by Fightful that Lashley definitely signed the deal as well. So you're getting the whole thing minus Cedric. So yeah, it's great. Seeing Shelty be in a suit is always good too. Right. Match number 5, double title match. Your main event: Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada versus World Champion Bryan Danielson. Danielson eventually, after about a half an hour or so, picks up the pinfall with, of all things, a backslide after the Blackpool Combat Club, or whatever they're calling themselves now. I'm going to call them that until such time as they give themselves a new name. They come out on the stage, and they just kind of stand there, but Okada's distracted enough that he gets backslid by Danielson. After that, the BCC, restrains Danielson in the ring, and Mox gets on the horn and on the mic, and he says he's fighting for something bigger than himself because he's going to do what others can't. It makes you think that there's somebody else pulling strings somewhere. Then Wheeler Yuta comes back out, makes the save, and chases off the BCC with a hammer, presumably the same hammer that they injured Brother Zay's hand with a couple weeks back. They come back when Danielson attacks Mox, who didn't leave the ring. But Claudio notably doesn't attack Yuta. Yuta then challenges Pac and Claudio to a tag match along with Danielson at next week's Dynamite, which they're giving the title of Title Tuesday, even though it doesn't really seem like too many championships are on the line as of yet. It's weird name, but whatever. As far as my ups and downs go, they're not ups and downs, Simon. I'm not stealing your gimmick. I just had that as shorthand on my notes. Okay. Right. So first, positive thing, the international title match was stellar. Very good. Yeah. Fantastic. Ricochet, since coming to AEW, is wrestling like he has something to prove. Like he's getting really gritty in there. Like he's using more like strength-based moves. He's really, really laying it in. Like I'm sure he's not wrestling snug, but his stuff looks like it hits harder than, like, I don't think I've ever seen him hit that hard. Like he's laying stuff in, and they were doing this tit for tat thing. Anything you can do, I can do better. Like it was really good. Like, so, when you measure that up against Ospreay's 1 hour match with MJF, like, even though they cut a really good pace for an insane amount of time, you still believe that this match, which was about 20 minutes or so with against Ricochet, you still believe that Ospreay still could have been beat because of how hard Ricochet seemed to be leaning into it. So, like, I mean, what do they say in the fight game? And all it takes is one lucky shot, right? So, right. Like, you apply that to wrestling, that psychology to wrestling, and, like, if he's laying it in, like, it's believable that even though we've seen him last longer, like, anybody can get beat. So I thought that match was fantastic. Not like a huge fan of the ending, but it gets Takeshita in there, and that triple threat match at Wrestle Dream is gonna bang.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I really liked Hangman versus Juice. I felt like the discourse online was kind of underselling it. I thought it was really intense for something that was not super well built up, that's just starting. I loved the Jay White comeback. I loved how I thought they had really good chemistry. I loved the graphic. Somebody on Twitter, I need to start bookmarking these so they can give people's handles the proper credit for it. But they posted the graphics of them, and Hangman's all like, "Arr!" and Juice is all like, "Hey!" And it looked like somebody said it looked like Sam the Eagle versus Animal from the Muppets, and it's like that's perfect.
It
That's
is.
absolutely that's 100% accurate. But yeah, that match was great. I thought that people were kind of underselling it. Like you go back and look at that, like everything makes sense. You know, I like that they're adding this new semi-cerebral aspect to Page's character now that he has to kind of think about being the ultimate lone wolf kind of deal where nobody likes him. You
Right.
know, he has to take care of things in order to even things out and stuff like that. Whereas if he was a babyface going against Bang Bang, do you really think he'd be taking the guns out before the match?
Right.
No,
No.
he'd be a stupid babyface.
Yeah.
Like, you
Exactly.
know, uh, not a big fan of the TV time. Um,
No.
uh, Now I know last week I said that there is room for true villainy in wrestling, and there is, and I stand by that. There is still such a thing as too soon, though, and
Hmm.
I thought it was still too soon. Like, give it another year at least.
Yeah, I
Like,
didn't like that at
I,
all.
I Jay's death still, it's still kind of raw. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of invoking Jay, but if they are gonna do it, you, oh man, you better have Mark win.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. If you're gonna
you
do this,
better
Mark,
have
better
Briscoe
and
win.
decisively.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I feel like you could have. I felt like this build didn't need it. Like if you wanted to make it personal, like just have him beat him in another tag match or something. You
yeah,
know, kind of get see if you can get in Mark Briscoe's head. You know, and have it actually work. Like nobody can get in Mark Briscoe's head. So having some, much like Gunther, it's like nobody gets in his head. So to see it actually happen is interesting because you don't see that.
right.
So I feel like something similar would have there were different ways that you could get there. And I it really felt kind of skeeved out about invoking Jay's name, like even a year after his death. I don't really like it.
Yeah,
It just it rubs me the wrong way.
yeah.
Um, that being said, the storytelling in the main event was fantastic.
Hmm.
Switching gears, you know, Okada really leaned into the fact that all I gotta do is wait it out 20 minutes, and then I can win a title and not have to lose. Like, so he was taking it slow. He was going to the ropes and breaking things up, really, really slowing it down and avoiding Brian for as much as he could. And then as soon as that 20 minutes elapsed, he poured it on.
Yeah,
It was perfect psychology. And then it was fantastic. I'm not a fan of backslides. I kind of hate backslides. I think they're silly and dumb, but they don't usually win a match. So to see it actually win a match for once is novel. So even that I can't really hate on too much.
right.
But yeah, overall, Dynamite was good.
Heck yeah.
Time to tag in.
I'll take the tag, and we're going to SmackDown this week for the go home show to Bad Blood. And this is a really good example of what I was talking about matches on a weekly TV show that should have been that would have normally been on a previous pay per view, but are now being showcased on television. The show opened up with Hardy, who I guess is a Nashville artist because they're in Nashville this week, which means lots of cowboy hats on everybody. Um, and he's introducing a returning AJ Styles, but he calls him the Phenomenal Forearm.
What?
Yeah, we'll get to that later. Yeah. AJ returns. He soaks it in for a moment. I mean, the crowd's really showing him some love for his return. He is 100% about to cry a couple of times. And then he's interrupted by Carmelo Hayes. And they then, they back and forth their way into a match, which is then stopped like 3 or 4 minutes in by an apparent ankle injury to AJ Styles. They said he sprained his ankle, but I don't know if it was a work or not. Um, Carmelo then went to Nick Aldis and was like, "Hey, I should get my title match with Jey Uso now, or with LA Knight now, because I won." And Nick Aldis was like, that wasn't really a win.
That makes me think that it was a work.
That makes me think that it was a work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we moved into.
I mean, to capitalize on it that quickly.
Yeah,
it's a work.
Yeah. So then Michin then defeated Chelsea Green in a dumpster match. This is one of those ones that I said would have previously been on a PLE, but are now being on TV. It was a good match. They had a lot of hardcore spots. Chelsea Green, surprisingly adept at hardcore matches. Probably taking tips from her husband, I would imagine.
I would think so. Yeah.
I think so. But it was good. The finish was Michin powerbombed her through a table that was set up across the dumpster and into the dumpster, and then she walked around for the rest of the show like covered in dumpster juice and everybody pretending she stunk really badly. And so yeah, it was kind of a funny thing afterwards, but the match itself was actually pretty good. Definitely gave it a thumbs up. And then from there they moved pretty quickly into Bayley versus Nia having their face-to-face before Bad Blood for their title match. Bayley played on Nia and Tiffany's dynamic with the case involved, and she's tried to cash in on you several times, and I know you're noticing, and Nia, Tiffany being like, Tiffany blurted out, "I don't need this briefcase to beat Nia," and Nia gave her this, like the look, so they have this kind of back and forth. They attack Bayley. Bayley gets the upper hand. She lays out Nia and takes off. At which point Tiffany Stratton acts like she's going to cash in again, and Nia does a whole Undertaker sit up and looks straight at her and is like, "Oh, so more building that dynamic for the eventual, what I believe will be the cash in. Then Nia kind of leaves. Naomi comes out for her match with Tiffany Stratton. She beats Tiffany Stratton after a roll up. And I'm going to get to this match a little bit more in the things I really liked about this show, because man, oh man, did Tiffany Stratton take my relative dislike for her as a character and turn it into, okay, I don't really like the character, but her in-ring work is pretty solid. Like I said, this is one of the new NXT ladies that's come in, and I'm not that familiar with her since my return to WWE. So I'm getting to know her a lot later than a lot of other people are. But that match was, Naomi's a good gauge to put somebody with and see if they can have a great match, and she had a good match with her. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
Are you saying she's this generation's women's version of X-Pac?
We'll talk about that later, okay? Like really, because we'll talk about that later. So
good. I want to have that conversation.
Yeah, we will.
I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
So then we had a three-way ladder match for the tag team championships, which this would totally have normally been on a pay-per-view, but is
was this
not
built up at all?
Yes, it was built up a little bit. I think they may have announced it the week before, maybe 2 weeks before, or maybe over the last couple of weeks they were kind of building, like deciding who was going to be in the match. So it's Bloodline versus DIY, who I always love DIY, versus the Street Profits, which seems to be a good match. The match turned out kind of so-so. DIY and Street Profits did team up on the Bloodline at one point and like put them through tables and did all kinds of crazy stuff to them, and then the Bloodline still won. So that's kind of why it turned out so-so to me. I was like, these two teams literally went
after. Who represented the Bloodline?
It was Tama and Tonga. Tonga, Tonga Loa. Yeah, Tama and Tonga.
Because I think, are they doing the Freebird thing?
I don't know if they are, but Solo and Jacob had had their tag match with Roman and Cody the next night, so it wasn't going to beat them either way. Not a ladder match tonight.
I didn't know if Fatu was going to get in there. So
I'm pretty sure they got involved a little bit, but I think they were really kind of saving those guys. I mean, when they won the match, they kind of regrouped at the ramp with the Bloodline as if they were just coming out. So I may have missed something there, but I don't think they really got involved that much. But it was the beat down that the other two teams. Okay, let me liken it to something from AEW that we recently saw. It was like setting a guy on fire and then he gets the pinfall.
Yeah.
Like those guys went through the
Yeah.
tables and got the ladder spots and all that, and they
Yeah.
won.
Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
I didn't feel
It
like it.
depends on the presentation.
I didn't feel like it worked that well, and
Mm.
so it not being on the PLE doesn't bother me that much. But this is still one of those matches. Now that was the end of the show. SmackDown's still relatively short without commercials. So and it didn't have a lot of back. I mean, it had backstage angles, but they were kind of woven in between them. Like they come back from commercial break, have like a 30-second backstage angle, and then they go and
Yeah.
do a match, which is a weird format for me because it makes it a little harder to keep up with promos. But there wasn't a lot there. I mean, this was a go home show. We knew what we were doing.
Yeah, there were a couple of long matches to fill the time in,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
right. Yeah,
I mean, a three-way ladder match is going to take up a chunk of time by necessity, I would think.
Yeah, it took up probably
So,
about 30 minutes or so, at least,
yeah,
of a 2 hour television show, which is only an hour and a half. So it took up a good third of the show. So that's the end of it. So two things I really liked from the show off the hop. Here's where we get to talk about Tiffany Stratton because holy crap, Naomi went for like an X-Pac facebuster. Stratton bounced out of it backwards, like a full rotation backwards, landed on her feet, and then double drop kicked Naomi right in the face. And that entire sequence took maybe a full second, if a full second. It was so fast. It was one of the most creative reversals
I'm pretty
I've
sure
ever
she
seen.
has a legitimate gymnast background.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Like, that would track in this case.
There are a couple of girls down in NXT right now that have gymnast backgrounds, which is not a bad background to have in wrestling. Mm-hmm. It's really not.
But I mean, right now, as far as WWE goes, I mean, I know the history. I wouldn't call myself a casual wrestling fan, but as far as current WWE goes, I'm a little bit of a casual. I know more about the older guys than I do about the younger people.
I'm catching up.
And I'm re-catching up. But the more I see her work in the ring, despite just not really liking the way she presents her character, the more it tracks why she has the Money in the Bank briefcase. I really like this kind of teaser build they're doing because I think she's going to topple Nyla and be the next women's champion, which is unfortunate because I think last week I said Bayley's going to be the next women's champion, and maybe Tiffany cashes in, and it's maybe Bayley's only champion for 30 seconds like Drew McIntyre was that one time when Punk screwed him over. But I think right now it's going to be a cash in on Nia from Tiffany Stratton. So that's kind of where that turned to me before Bad Blood, and then we'll get into Bad Blood. But so yeah, Tiffany Stratton, one of the things I really liked about this episode. Meechin and Chelsea Green and their dumpster match was awesome. So another thing I really liked about this episode.
I'm glad they gave Meechin a win.
Yeah, I am too. I am
like,
too.
Like I said, I usually, kind of just lurk. I don't watch, but I lurk. I see clips online and stuff, and it's like it seems like Meechin's kind of the person they put in there when they need like a third tier baby face to lose to an up and coming heel. And so it's good. I love Mia Yim. I think she's fantastic. And so it's good to see her. It's good to also, I think she's one of the only women who are technically members of the Bullet Club. Because of her association with the OC, they kind of count that as like a a different wing, but it's they kind of accept all of the branches on the tree. So technically I think she may be the only woman who's a full-fledged member of the Bullet Club.
Right.
Like that's a kind of a big deal. Yeah. So I'm glad they're giving her something. I mean, it's good to hear about that from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I really liked the match. I thought it was fun. I thought the Chelsea walking around afterwards, covered in dumpster goo, and everybody pretending she's stunk. Because Piper's her friend, and Piper's walking next to her, going, "Oh God, it's so terrible," and like making the throw up sounds and everything. Like, and so it was so good. And then she goes talk to Nick Aldis, and it's like she's like, "I want," and he's like, "Not right now," and like just walks off. So like
even Nick Aldis can't keep it on.
Even Aldis couldn't keep no composure for that poor man when she walked around. I don't know what she was covered in though, but she looked like she was legitimately covered in dumpster juice. It was kind of gross.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I really liked that part. Something I didn't like, and that I consistently do not like in wrestling. Like usually the things I don't like in a wrestling show are things that I always don't like because they happen a lot, or they've happened before and I didn't like it then. I don't like when you have a national artist or somebody on your show with a live mic in their hand who doesn't know dick about wrestling. Anybody who watches WWE with any regularity knows that AJ Styles is the phenomenal one, not the phenomenal forearm.
yeah,
I also don't really like Hardy. I think if since they're in Nashville, Jelly Roll would have been a way better choice. He's been on before. He's obviously a big wrestling fan, and everybody
yeah.
loves the guy. So get him in there. All I can think is he's in the studio or he's on tour or doing something like that where he couldn't be
I
there.
know that
But
he,
yeah,
not yesterday, but the week before SNL premiered their latest season, and he was the musical guest on there.
yeah,
And as somebody who's not like a huge fan of their music, I was actually kind of impressed. Like what
mm-hmm,
he seems to be going in a different direction with his music that I
mm-hmm,
kind of dig actually.
right,
And he seemed so humble, and he seemed so grateful. And knowing a little bit about his backstory, like, yeah, give him that spot. See if you can call him. Give him these opportunities to be around a thing that he really likes. Because you know
yeah,
what? He's earned it. He's earned it.
yeah,
He's cleaned his life up from a very bad place. He spent time in a very bad place and came out the other side as a better person. When you cannot say that about too many people who go through the
right,
correctional system, like it's kind of a miracle when it happens.
yeah.
I'm with you on this one. I think Jelly Roll probably like I'd never even heard of Hardy. You're the Hardy I've heard of. Like I,
That's true.
or Jeff and Matt. Like
Yeah,
I
or
don't
Jeff and Matt. Yeah.
like I don't. Granted, I'm aging out of the demographic that they're trying to target with these celebrities anyway. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I think Jelly Roll probably would have been bigger. At least I've heard of him.
Yeah.
And like you said, he's already been on,
Yeah.
and he's in Nashville. I don't know. Maybe, like you said, maybe he's on tour. Maybe the SNL gig was part of that tour. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm not
Maybe
sure.
he was still in New York
Yeah. Who
for all I
knows?
know. Maybe he
Yeah.
was like, yeah, maybe I'll just stay and be a tourist for for a
That
week or something. I
happens.
don't know.
That happens
Sure.
during the Mercules tour. He definitely got to New York and stayed there for like 3 or 4 extra days when he went for Sway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you on that. Like, use the biggest celebrity that you can, not some guy that probably the majority of your aging audience has never heard of. You may be targeting that younger demographic, but the people who are watching it are more our age.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
For sure.
not that you need to target us all this stuff, but like maybe if you're getting one of the newer artists, maybe get like the biggest one you can, so that at least we're aware of who they are.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
crowd really didn't seem to jibe with him, but when AJ Styles came out, that changed.
well, that's
So
Nashville, man. Like
yeah.
that's TNA country.
Yeah, that's TNA
Like
country. So yeah.
that's where he made his name.
It'd
Of
be like
course,
Jeff
they're gonna
Jarrett
cheer the
suddenly
crap out of
appearing.
him. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, so kinda. But I,
yeah.
I think he's redeemed himself a little bit in AEW, but we can talk about that some other time. But yeah, so I didn't really like the Hardy thing opening the show. I did like the AJ Styles return though, and that's my ending thing that I really liked. AJ Styles came back. He was obviously very into the crowd being very into him. He was very emotional. The ability because he was out there before Carmelo Hayes interrupted him. He was kind of talking about like I did some shitty things before I left, and I obviously don't have that many friends back there. But he was also getting emotional over the crowd. So I think the emotion that from the crowd made the "I'm kind of a shitty person" promo go a little better and be a little bit more believable. But fuck, I mean, I don't even need any of that. AJ Styles is back, and he's like
Yeah.
100% a badass wrestler, and always makes any program better. So
Yeah, I
you know,
feel like the best thing that you can do to establish a babyface turn is have the guy turning admit their crap and try to own up to it and try to make up for it. That goes a long. People are very forgiving,
mhm.
I think, and in general, but you have to try. You have to put yourself out there and make it known that you're trying. As long
Right.
as you look like you're gonna try, people are very forgiving. So,
Yeah.
translating that into wrestling terms, babyface turns don't often go over well or as well as they could or as well as you want when they just happen out of nowhere. Big Show babyface turns, who cares? He's flip flop more often than anybody in wrestling history. But like when you know Hangman finally turns back face, it's gonna
Yeah.
be that he's gonna own up to the crap that he's done, and he's gonna try and make up for it because not only is that the character, that's also what somebody trying to be good would do.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So
yeah,
yeah, kudos to AJ.
yeah, kudos to AJ. I really like that part. Yeah, SmackDown was good overall this week. I give it a thumbs up. The only thing I really, yeah, the only thing I really didn't like, I mean, I thought I was entertained by the ladder match, but it was so it'll get like a from me. Everything else was a thumbs up though. The show overall was very good, except for that Hardy thing where he called him phenomenal. Like I was just like, ugh, like today on
It's giving
football.
me Jeremy Piven Summerfest vibes.
Yeah. Like today on football, one of the referees, like the head referee that gets the microphone, said
Mm-hmm.
fumbled the basketball during a football game. So yeah, no more white hat for that guy. But that was kind of the way I felt when he called him the phenomenal. I felt the same way when he called AJ Styles the phenomenal forearm. I was like, what the hell? Like, sir,
Well,
what
it's
are you
worse if he's a
doing?
referee.
Yeah, yeah.
Worse if he's a referee because that's the game it's his job to officiate.
Right.
He definitely shouldn't get that wrong.
Well, I'm sure Hardy
But
was being paid, so
well, yeah. But okay.
at least I
Well,
hope they didn't let him
tag
get
me
out
in,
there and do
bro.
that shit for free. Hell yeah, tagging you in for collision.
See, I even put my hand out like that, so you knew it was real.
Hell yeah, he's got the rope.
Tagged in. All right. So Collision, there was a lot on Collision. Actually, it was far more packed with wrestling than Dynamite was. So I'm gonna try and go through this as quickly as I can because we still got the hot tag to do too. So
Right.
match number one was Darby Allin versus Johnny TV. Good getting Morrison on TV. Darby wins by pinfall kind of abruptly. TV had most of the offense and did some really cool stuff too. Like I would go check out this match because as much as I've seen him, John Morrison, Johnny TV, Johnny Mundo, whatever you want to call him, like he still comes up with new ways to surprise you, and that makes him the perfect opponent for Darby Allin, who comes up with new ways to get hurt all the time. um, I would really like them to see them run this back. As it stands, Darby wins with a coffin drop on Johnny, who was standing. So he was in standing position, and he took the coffin drop, and he took the
Ooh.
bump all the way to the floor of the mat with it, which I thought was interesting.
All right.
Afterwards, Allen reiterates his open challenge. Nobody answers initially, and he calls the locker room complacent, which.
Ooh.
So he starts to walk up the ramp, only to be attacked by Brody King.
Oh shit.
Yeah, who
Ooh.
destroys him and then accepts his challenge.
Oh fuck. All right. I love
Yeah,
Brody King, so this
I
is
knew you
awesome.
do. I know you do.
Yeah,
I
I'm a
I,
big
I
fan.
told you. I told you you'd love
Yeah,
that.
I love that. Okay, yeah. The person I was gonna predict, yeah, no, I'll take Brody King. We're good
Nope.
here.
Segment number one is a pre-taped video package with the FT runners. So it's that low res stuff, like all the
Oh
other
yeah.
Outrunners video packages. So it's got the cheesy music and everything, and it's shot like one of those '80s promos, like low budget '80s promos. FTR prove they have the stuff to the Outrunners by working out with them and tanning with them, except that the tanning was in overcast skies, and they dyed Dax's mustache blonde.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I was like,
And
oh
then
my gosh,
they all did the predator handshakes as they confirmed that they did indeed have the stuff.
the
And then
stuff.
the 80s style um the 80s style graphics comes as like the Outrunners and the FTR, they kind of combine like in the center of the screen to form FT runners. It's brilliant. Match number 2 was the Outrunners versus Grizzled Young Veterans. Went much different than their previous match because now the Outrunners are popular. The Outrunners win by pinfall when Truth Magnum uses a victory roll on Zach Gibson. This is a good match. Gets another thumbs up from me, just like the first match. Yeah, like it was good. Go seek it out. Like there's a lot of stuff on here you should definitely seek out. Segment number 2 was a pre-tape video package hyping up Britt Baker. She does the voiceover saying that she's back to chasing the women's world title after never getting a proper rematch after losing to Thunder Rosa 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Will be at Title Tuesday waiting for Mariah May. That's not a match that's set up. That's just I'm gonna be there if you are gonna be there. Blah blah blah.
Okay.
So segment number 3, Lexi Nair interviews the conglomeration and Willow Nightingale. I'm not really sure if she's a part of it or not. She's not on the T-shirt, so I'm gonna say that she's an associate, not part of the group. But they should put her on the T-shirt.
Yes.
Willow is also coming for Mariah May, but has Trish Adora tonight. Then they give it to Mark Briscoe, who says that he in his serious voice that he'll take care of Jericho soon.
Ooh.
And then he switches back to classic Mark Briscoe and says, "But Orange and Kyle O'Reilly have the premier athletes tonight," and does his normal amazing Mark Briscoe thing. Match number 3 is Willow versus Trish Adora. Great match. Like I'll go over it later, but Willow wins via pinfall after the Babe with the powerbomb. Afterwards, Willow confronts Mariah May, who is watching at ringside, who had amazing facial expressions. They cut to her like every couple of minutes for her face to comment on what was going on in the ring. And I think Nigel at one point said that they could make a set of baseball cards out of them. And honestly, for somebody who's English and doesn't know crap about baseball, he's still right about that.
He's still right. Yeah. Okay.
Like they really could. Her facial expressions are incredible. She's right up there with like Vince McMahon in terms of like selling something with her face.
Yeah.
That's high praise. Sort of. I mean, you know what I mean.
Yeah. We don't like to compare. Praise. Yeah, we know why it's high praise. And
we're parsing the character and the abilities from the man.
Yes.
So
exactly.
Please don't get angry on me on the internet saying that I think she's a pervert or anything. Like, no.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you won't be able to take this out of context because I have receipts.
Yes. Yes. Willow confronts Mariah May at ringside, and they brawl a little bit. And Willow gets the upper hand, and it looks like she's gonna do the Babe with the power bomb onto the steel steps. Ooh. But Mariah slides out the back and heads up the ramp. She hightails it.
Okay.
Segment number 4, interview with Wheeler Yuta. Yuta barely has any chance to say anything before Claudio comes out and kicks Alicia out. And he's like, yeah, this is between me and him. And then he lets Yuta kind of lay into him verbally about how he wasn't in on it, and how this wasn't what we were supposed to be, and this, that, the other thing. And then he kind of lets him do his thing. And then Claudio says that he's never steered him wrong. And what did Brian ever really do for him? And that he'd always have his back. So building more tension, making it seem like there's a chance that Yuta could turn on Danielson too. I don't know if I believe that, but I like that they're building uncertainty.
I felt that way a little bit.
Well, then it's good because that's clearly the aim that they're going for.
Yeah.
So clearly that segment works.
Yeah.
Lexi interviews Mariah May next. Segment number 5. This was backstage. It wasn't in like an official, where they usually have their interviews. It seemed like they just caught her while she was heading back to her locker room or something. She's wicked ticked off, like really just laying it, like running down Willow, running down Baker, before Christopher Daniels comes from off screen and accuses her of prompting these fights, because this isn't the first time that she's stood ringside and watched matches and kind of gotten in it. He's like, you're prompting these fights as an excuse to not having to defend your title, because then you can, say that they don't deserve it because they're acting unprofessionally or whatever. So
Right.
he's like, okay, so for Title Tuesday next week on Dynamite, it's going to be Willow versus Baker, and that's a number one contenders match. So whoever wins that gets the World Women's Title shot at Wrestle Dream.
Man, why they gotta do that to me? Because I want it to be Willow and I want it to be Britt, but we stand Willow in this house, so Willow, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to that later.
Mm.
Match number 4, World Trios Champion Wheeler Yuta versus Beef. Uh,
This guy.
uh, Beef gets a couple of shots in here and there, but mostly this is the Wheeler Yuta show. He gets the hammer and anvil elbows, and Beef does a great job of selling it. He's selling it like he got legit knocked out, because once he slapped the cattle mutilation on that afterwards, he was kind of like, kind of flopping around like a fish, but he did not tap out. It was like it was implied that he was knocked out before that was applied. That hold was even applied.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
like he's selling Wheeler's stuff really well.
Okay.
Thumbs up mostly because I like the angle where it was going, but it was as a match, it served more as an angle.
Yeah.
Segment number 6, Lexi interviews Hook, who only 2 days ago found out about it and issued his challenge to find out whoever attacked his dad, is already impatient and, and challenges whoever attacked Taz to show up on Title Tuesday. Didn't challenge him to a match. He's like, come face me. So I assume it's going to be more of a face-to-face segment. They're going to reveal that is, in my opinion, probably Christian Cage. By the
Yeah.
way, quick interjection. Get well soon. Kill Switch / Luchasaurus got freaking pneumonia or something.
Yeah.
Like
That's what I heard. Yeah.
awful crap. Get better soon, big guy.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
Match number 5 was Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly of the Conglomeration versus Premier Athletes Tony Nese and Ari Daivari. They did the thing. The Premier Athletes did the thing where Sterling interrupts the introduction and tries to get the crowd to chant athletes rule or whatever it is, and of course they say athletes suck. So I mean, it's cheap heat, but you know what? Tony
Yeah.
Nese works freaking hard, and like for somebody without, I mean, he's super talented, doesn't have much of a personality, but he's
Yeah.
one of those really, really dependable hands that can make anybody look good, and all his offense looks good. So like, yeah, put him on TV, give him that shot.
Yeah.
And Ari Daivari is kind of underrated too. I feel
A little bit.
like he's a good hand. Um,
Yeah.
Winners are Cassidy and O'Reilly via pinfall. Cassidy hits with the orange punch, uh, and then with the beach break, and he's pinning him while in the background. O'Reilly has Daivari and guillotine choke. It's one of those things where that's not the actual fall. The pinfall is the actual fall of the match, but the pinfall is taking place as Daivari is tapping out. So it's like
Oh.
they both contribute
Yeah.
kind of.
Right.
And thumbs up. This was a really fun match. Thumbs up to that too. Segment number 7 was another one of these. Lance Archer beats up a bunch of dudes in the back, but doesn't have a match because apparently he showed up to work and didn't get work again. Uh, this time it was in the back. It was like on in the parking lot area where all the trucks were and everything. Weird thing. He is approached by Don Callis, and he's like, "Hey, gotta ask you a question. Are you still represented by Jake the Snake?" And he beats up the last dude, throws him into the truck, and he goes back over and he's like, "Yes," and he walks off. Weird segment, very strange. Not sure what that served. Um,
Maybe Jake the Snake will show back up at some point.
Segment 8, Lexi interviews Mercedes Moné and Camille. Double interviews this week for those two. Monet puts herself over and says Camille is more than a woman. She's unstoppable. But of course, she said more than a woman. So Chris Statlander comes out from the side, referring to herself. I think I caught this as Born Again Kristen uh, challenges that notion and tells them to watch her match tonight. I'll talk more about that at the end.
Okay.
Match number 6 though was a 4-way match: Hologram versus Commander versus Nick Wayne versus Action Andretti. Lots of cool stuff here. Hologram gets the win because they're not having him lose anytime soon. He has a finisher now. He
Okay.
put Andretti on his back in torture rack position and then did like an airplane spin. So like the longest spinning Blue Thunder bomb that you've ever seen.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he actually pins him with a version of a Blue Thunder bomb, which never pins anybody. Just ask Simon Miller.
Yeah.
I'm sure when I see his ups and downs on this, that he's gonna be beside himself that he can't say that about the Blue Thunder bomb anymore. But yeah, thumbs way up for this match. Lots of cool stuff. Andretti getting pins, sells that storyline that he's still kind of in his own way despite his best efforts. So that keeps going. Nick Wayne doesn't get pinned. They're kind of giving him a little bit of a push now too, so they protected him. I was surprised Commander didn't take the pin actually, but Action Andretti got it, and that furthers his storyline. So good there. Segment number 9, Lexi interviews the Beast Mortos. You've seen this segment. I know you have
Yeah,
because you
I
sent it to
tagged
me on
you.
Twitter today.
Yes, I did.
So
It
I
was
don't have to tell it to
fantastic.
you. But yeah, basically Lexi asks him what's the deal with him, like just kind of shacking up with anybody who wants to tag with him,
Being a
and
little
all he
slutty.
does is roar. Roar, roar. And then the Undisputed Kingdom comes in and it's like, hey man, why are you cheating on us? Like, and especially Taven, who's really put some effort into investing in progressing Mortos' character with this Frank Mortos attorney at Roar bit, which I absolutely adore.
He slipped in a man
Um,
bear pig reference also, which
yes, a Man Bear Pig reference.
I was
Yes, yes, yes,
totally like
yes.
laughing my ass off. That was great.
Yeah, it was
You're
great.
still on retainer.
Didn't
Uh,
Yes, that was the line. That was my favorite line. You're still on retainer. I'm mad at you, but you're still my lawyer.
right.
Uh, but the best part though was Mortos at the end. Just he sold it with his whole body. Because you have to when your whole face is covered in a mask, and I think he did it really well. That he was just confused, and I feel like he wants some stability, and I hope he finds it.
Yeah.
I don't care where it is. Like I liked the idea last week of him being with LFI,
Yeah.
and now I don't care where he winds up. I just want to see him happy and doing Beast Mortos things on my TV.
Yeah, exactly. I always need more of that.
Dude's great.
Yeah.
Match number 7 was Chris Statlander versus Zoe Lynn. Basic squash match. I don't think it even lasted 2 minutes. Afterwards, Monet and Camille came back, talked a little smack, got in there, and Chris held her own for a little bit, but then Camille did the brick house thing and just smashed her. Looks like her finish is being called the Road to Damascus, which is a
Okay.
rolling cutter, but like not Crossroads, goes the other way, so it's more of a roll of the dice kind of deal.
Okay.
So yeah, that was that. Segment number 10, Darby reacts backstage to what happened earlier in the night. He lays out his history with Brody King. He's never pinned Brody King. Like, he put him in a coffin. He said that he thought that would be enough, but looks like despite the fact that apparently, according at least to this storyline, Darby Allin, not Malachi Black, is the reason that Brody King has a job with AEW, because Darby went out of his way to talk to Tony Khan and says, you have to get this guy. So
Oh.
layers, I like it,
Yeah, I do
but
too.
it's like, it's painting Brody King as kind of almost ungrateful, kind of, sort of. I mean, not by demeanor, but by implication.
Yeah.
Um, and so he's asking for a face-to-face meeting before Wrestle Dream.
Oh, okay.
So we'll get another segment to further that storyline before the pay-per-view. Segment number 11 was a pre-taped video package hyping the return of Emi Sakura, who I love Emi Sakura. I was wondering where she was. I guess she's just been wrestling in Japan for the last several months, but she's coming
Yeah.
back on Title Tuesday to face Monet for the TBS title, and I'm all for that. I'm
Yeah, I'm here
totally
for
all
it.
for that. Match number 6 was the main event. Number 1 contendership match: Private Party versus the House of Black versus Top Flight. Winner gets the Young Bucks at Wrestle Dream for the belts.
Okay.
House of Black in this case was, of course, Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews. Brody King has got his own stuff, clearly.
Right.
This was good. I mean, this is good stuff. You can't really have a bad match with all the people that are involved in this. Like they're gonna do some stuff. House of Black dominated most of it. Anytime they were in the ring, they didn't win, but they were protected as they usually are in defeat. I think that's why Top Flight was there. So
Maybe.
House of Black didn't have to take the pin.
So they didn't take the pin. Yeah.
But Private Party hits gin and juice on Dante and gets the win well after they had taken out House of Black on the outside. Thumbs up, good stuff. It gives a reason to put Private Party in that spot. Yeah. So as far as wrapping things up with things I like, things that didn't, I love the focus on the women's division in this episode. There were, even though one was a squash, there were still 2 women's matches. You had a couple more segments on top of that.
Yeah.
You had Trish Adora really made the most of her time. She looked fantastic, and Willow was so giving to her. And the match went on for a while. It lasted through a commercial break. So, I mean, I really hope that they kind of call up Trish from ROH, if you want to look at it that way,
Yeah.
because that girl was very impressive. She really took that opportunity by the horns and made a very good case for herself. So, kudos to Trish Adora specifically. Like, I always knew that she was talented, but this was a showcase for her. The segments, like the non-wrestling segments, were really good. Like the FTR runners was amazing. Darby's stuff furthering his feud and giving that little background of Brody King. I love lore. Give me more lore. Yes, by all means.
Okay. Yeah.
The Beast Mortos stuff, fantastic. We're doing something with them. That's great.
Right.
The downside, I'm not really sure where they're going with Statlander. Like, all of a sudden, she's without Stokely Hathaway.
Which I'm okay with that.
She seems to be turning babyface.
Yeah.
After that long program of establishing her as a heel. Like, I'm grateful for the focus on the women, but I'm wondering where the heck this is going. Like, this, honestly, the women's focus is there, but it's all over the place. Like, Statlander is now a babyface by default for no reason other than what? Monet doesn't have a decent challenger for her TBS title that she hasn't already beaten? Is that what we're going with? Like, I don't get it. What if Britt Baker and Willow Nightingale? I love both of them, but they both lost in TBS title shots. How come they're getting inserted so quickly in the world title scene? They lost to the lesser champion. What makes you? I don't understand. Willow, as much as I love her, lost that blow-off match to Statlander, and which wasn't for a title at all. So she should be down in the rankings. She shouldn't be. I love that they're getting TV time. I love that they're getting focus. I do think the creative needs to be more focused on the focus, though.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here? Like,
right.
I'm wondering if maybe maybe they had plans with Thunder Rosa, but she got concussed. And she's on the mend, and so that this is kind of, they're cobbling things together until they're waiting for her to come back. I don't know, but like I don't understand it. I wish I had a way to fix it, because I believe in constructive criticism, but I don't really know what their thought process is here more than anything. So I don't know how to recommend anything.
I think a pretty
do it.
good guess is to the thought process is that Tony Storm and Hikaru Shida are both working in Japan right now, and
Yeah.
who's our name? I mean, because those are the two that I would put in there. Were they available? If they're not available, who would you go
Yeah.
with next? I would go. Britt and Willow makes sense in that frame of mind.
Yeah.
But honestly, looking at the available rankings, Willow still seems to be on top of things. So,
Yeah. I mean, if you there is I made an oblique reference to him, to this gentleman, or I
mm-hmm.
assume it's a dude. I don't know actually know that. But uh the tag on Twitter is at AEW underscore rankings.com.
mm-hmm.
And he, with every AEW show, they essentially update the rankings where AEW has largely left them to the wayside, at least externally. Like they still list their records on the bottom third when they come to the ring and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And in you compare the numbers to who's getting title shots, and they mostly line up, unless there's like a storyline reason where they wouldn't. But like,
Yeah.
Post Collision, the power rankings that this guy has put up, which are usually pretty accurate to how they're booked, it has obviously Mariah May as the world title holder, Mercedes is the TBS champion, Willow is ranked number one in the division after that at 13-4 on the year, which I
Yeah.
mean, okay, that makes sense. Deonna Purrazzo is number two at 12-6. Where's she? I mean, she's a heel, so I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I
I guess
think
maybe
it's
not.
probably the heel thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Statlander's in at number three. She would be in contention.
Mm-hmm.
Sheeta, you said, is in Japan, so she's the. And then number five at 4-0 is Camille, who's definitely not going to challenge anytime soon. After that, like, I mean, I don't know, maybe it would be rushing it, but like Jamie Hayter at 3-0 is still higher on these rankings than Britt Baker at number 8 at 3-1. What are we doing? I mean, Hayter just finished up a feud. Why are we not putting her in there?
Yeah, I thought she would be the next feud
What
for
about?
that.
I mean, we can always build up Nyla.
Oh yeah.
Like what's going on? Like I don't.
Why not?
I love that the women are getting more time, but I feel like something probably happens to kind of slap things together, and it feels that way.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe there's nothing to be done about it. Maybe we just have to wait until more women in the division become available again.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, as far as the thing that I took away from this episode that wasn't so great, it was kind of the haphazard way that their storyline seemed to be going in that division, because
Mm-hmm.
it almost doesn't make any sense.
Right.
That being said, to end on a positive note, Emi Sakura is back. Emi, no, I mean,
I love Emi Sakura just for her pure
yeah,
meanness. She's mean as hell, and I love it.
for our listeners, I look at Emi Sakura. I think she has such a great body of work. You know what she is? She is the Natalia of AEW, because you put
Okay.
her. She's got 20 years or almost 30 years of experience now. She's got a ton of experience. She goes in there. She makes everybody look good. She has great matches with anybody.
That's true.
But she's still the person that's the stepping stone. She's
Mm-hmm.
still she's still the Worf effect. You beat
Right.
her and then you look good. Oh man, you beat Emi Sakura, even though she never wins the belt. Like she's that talent. That's their biggest attribute, their biggest positive attribute and contribution is making others.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in that respect, I feel like she's like Natalia in WWE. She's not the one who holds the belt. She's the stepping stone for somebody. If you can hang with her, if you can hang with Natalia, and if you can hang with Emi Sakura and look good against her, and if they endorse you, then yeah, okay, we'll run with you for a little while. She's so valuable to that locker room, and
Yeah.
I love her very, very much. And I'm very excited to see her back, and I really hope that I mean, she's not going to win the TBS title from Mercedes on Tuesday, but I really hope that they do something with her more than just having her show up from random matches every 3 months, you know, like she
Right.
had been. Like she was a fixture on Dark and Dark Elevation when that was the thing. And since that might be coming back, maybe that's where she'll wind up again. But I mean, we assume that it might come back because Rampage is going to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really hope they do something with her because girls earned it for
Oh yeah,
sure.
for sure. For sure. Totally awesome. I'm
All
glad to
right,
see Amy Sakura back.
time for the hot tag.
Oh God, come on, give it to me. Yeah. All right, taking the hot tag, and what a hot tag it is. We got Bad Blood 2024, the latest WWE pay per view. I'll never call it a PLE. I don't like calling it PLE, but it's pay per view, but it
It's
does
awkward,
follow.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, but it does follow this new WWE PLE format, which I do like. Keeping it short, sweet, several matches, good builds. So here we go. It opened up real hot. Punk and McIntyre, the whole basis of the show, basically opens Hell in a Cell, very first match opening the show, and they bled Rivers. Punk hit him with to open up Drew McIntyre. Punk hit him with a toolbox that was made of like diamond cut steel. It was gnarly, and it was a total like MJF throwback from when he hit him with the oxygen tank.
I heard it took
So
16 staples to put him back together.
yeah, basically, it was really
Oof.
nasty. Um, they go through a really basic Hell in a Cell match that's still good despite being kind of basic. But then Drew McIntyre puts stairs in the ring. He goes and goes to he gets Punk in there and he goes to do something to him on the stairs, but he pulls out a bag and you think it's thumbtacks, but it's not thumbtacks. It's a bag full of friendship bracelet beads. And dumps he
Yes.
dumps them out all over Punk, and then he goes to claymore him into the stairs. And Punk moves after he's already launched himself for the claymore, so he hits lower back first on the corner of the stairs. It is gnarly. I recoiled so hard. But then Punk goes over while McIntyre's selling. He picks up a chain that had been previously used
I
in the
don't think
match.
he's selling at that
Probably
point.
not, no. But he picks up a chain that had been previously used in the match. He wraps it around his knee. He picks up a handful of these bracelet beads. He shoves them in McIntyre's mouth, and then GTS with the chain on the knee. 1, 2, 3, Punk wins. He sold it really well walking up the ramp. He collapsed, and they gave him oxygen, but then he got back up and still walked out on his 2 feet. While they had the camera on him, he was like, "I want my wife." The only thing he was asking for was his wife. McIntyre was somehow shown getting back to his feet, which I don't think should have happened, but distraught nonetheless. Really great match. 2 thumbs up on this one for me. Great payoff to this feud. I hope that's it. I hope it's over. They keep saying it. This is where it would end. I hope they stick to that. Next match was Nia versus Bayley. Typical Nia versus Bayley match. Um, Bayley got Nia down. Stratton interfered. She hit Bayley with the case, but when she hit Bayley with the case, the referee had been bumped out. And the referee got up as she hit Bayley with the case and thought she was trying to cash it in, which Nia Jax then came to, and kind of like the previous night on SmackDown, sees what looks to be a cash in situation happening while she's laid out. She's upset about it. But the Stratton interference basically, Bayley got hit with the case. Nia capitalized on that. Nia retains. So that also leads me to believe that still the cash in will be Tiffany on Nia, new champion Tiffany Stratton. I mean, they're just telegraphing it at this point.
They're doing a
But
lot of work trying to
yeah,
make you think that for something that if they're not going to do it, that's going to be one heck of a red herring.
Yeah. Yeah. So thumbs up on the match for me. But it was mostly just to further the Stratton Cashin thing. Wish she or won't she thing.
I
It
saw
wasn't
the
really
Naya Kamrana. That
yeah,
was
man.
something.
It was something. Well, yeah. Um after
We'll leave
that,
it at that.
yeah, after that, Damian Priest defeated Finn Balor. He fought off Judgment Day interference because, of course, he did. And then beat Balor. Balor coup de grace him like 4 times in a row, and then on the fifth one he caught him in a chokeslam, and that was it. So
they did the Ultimate Warrior Randy Savage deal.
I guess so, man. Like yeah, he hit him so many times with that coup de grace, and I was like, as many times as they're doing it, Finn's got to win, but no, it basically rendered the coup de grace useless on Damian Priest at least. After that, I mean, the match was good though. Serviceable match, good match. I didn't expect the finish, so anytime I don't expect the ending, thumbs up. So I didn't expect Damian Priest to win, so he did. Thumbs up for that. After that, there's a 10-minute period that I'm going to talk about later. I'm not going to talk about it right now. And I will explain that fully later. But anytime something like this happens on a WWE show, we will have a gap just like this, where I don't talk about this specific 10-minute period. I will tell you what happened later as I'm explaining why we won't talk about it in the future. But in the future, there will just be a gap like this where I don't talk about this particular 10 minutes. Okay. So after that 10 minutes is over, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley with Dom in a shark cage. I always love the shark cage gimmick. I'm a sucker for it.
I'm a sucker for the shark cage too. It's so cool. I don't know. I always love it, even though it's super predictable every time.
Rhea came out with a roll of toilet paper with Dom's face all over it, which they're apparently now selling at WWEshop.com. Hell yes, know your people. Okay, he has such nuclear heat that toilet paper would only work with somebody like him. And yeah, I'd pay $16 to wipe his face on my ass. So she comes out with the toilet paper.
Explain that to guests though.
Right. She puts it in the cage. So then Dom and Liv come out, and then these two WWE shirted guys. They don't really look like local security. They look like maybe actual WWE officials of some kind. I've never seen them before. But they come up and kind of like very forcibly like shove Liv off and grab Dom and like put him in the cage. And, and like she's like, no, don't put him in there. They're like, shut up. And they just like escort him to the cage. Like it's very kind of rough right there. But they escort him to the cage. He's playing the pussy the whole time. He's sitting on the floor of the cage. He won't stand up. He doesn't stand up the entire time. So he's stuck in the cage. But then Rhea's like, second thing, because the first she was like, when they announced the stipulation, she was like, one thing I know about you is that you're claustrophobic as hell. So here's the shark cage. Then she comes out, once they get him in the shark cage, she comes out, she's like, oh, the other thing I know about you is that you're afraid of heights. So let's go ahead and hoist him up. So he's freaking out on the floor because he's being hoisted up, which I knew that was going to happen. It's a shark cage match. You hoist him up.
Shark cage. That's what you expect. How did he not expect it?
Liv is freaking out.
Ain't you never watched the show?
Right. So Liv's freaking out. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. And but he's playing the wuss the whole time. He's sitting on the floor of the cage. He's suspended pretty high up enough that there's definitely, I'll just say it now before I get to the rest of the match, there's definitely not going to be him jumping out of that cage spot. Okay?
Yeah.
He is not coming out of that cage willingly.
Yeah.
We'll say that. So they have their match. It's very good. I mean, Liv pulled out they said she calls it the home wrecker. It's pretty awesome. It's like a packaged Poison Rana. It's weird. But it was cool, man. The way she set it up, the way it's executed, it was really awesome. I liked it. Other than that, match not incredibly memorable, except for Rhea, while also selling a hurt leg, because Liv did really work on the leg, the previously injured leg. Liv went for an oblivion, and Rhea backflipped out of it, which was really cool. I hadn't seen anybody do that with the oblivion before, so that was cool. She backflipped out of it. But then Dom got the cage door open, and then Rhea hit Liv with a riptide, and then she went to the referee, and she's like talking to the referee a little bit. But while she's talking to the referee, Dom has got the cage door open, and he falls out with a piece of chain wrapped around his ankle. So he basically becomes a human pinata below the shark cage. So he's hanging there underneath the shark cage.
How did he not like tear his ankle to shreds?
I don't know, but
that's
he fell out.
Incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, so he fell out with this chain wrapped around his ankle, and the chain hung him up like a human pinata. So then Rhea goes she goes to the referee. She's like, hey, she's knocked out. I'll be back to finish this in a second. Can you give me 1 minute to go handle some business outside the ring? And the referee said, he had the referee cam on so you could hear him. And they switched to the referee cam. He's like, yeah, you deserve that. And she goes, okay. So she goes out of the ring. She gets under the ring. She picks up a freaking kendo stick. She goes over to Dom while he's hanging from this chain, and she treats him like a human pinata. She just goes to town. She starts whooping his ass. At this point, I'm thinking,
everybody hates, even the referees hate Dom.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, yeah, he gets so much heat in the referees.
Because I don't like that, honestly.
Yeah, but this is what leads to the finish, though. She's beating on him, and suddenly out of nowhere, this larger woman shows up and just smashes into Rhea Ripley, and then drags her into the ring. But so she smashes into her and starts beating her up, and the referee calls for the bell, so the match is over.
Okay.
But she drags Rhea into the ring and then puts Liv on top of her anyway. Bad move anyway. But at this point, we figure out it's Raquel Rodriguez.
Okay.
Who I thought was a face when she left, when she got injured or whatever, but I guess maybe not. I don't know.
Well, they'll probably write her some rationale.
But if they need a strong woman character to take on Rhea, this is a good choice. I didn't like the way the match ended, though. I didn't like her just kind of showing up and smashing her. I really wanted Rhea to get the bell back, so I really didn't like how it turned out. But, here we go. We're going to get more Rhea in Judgment Day, at least, if not more Damien in Judgment Day, which we probably will that too. So the match was kind of so-so for me, just based on the finish. But before that, like, the Dom was hilarious. He still had his nuclear heat. It was very typical of what was going on. I thought the pinata spot was going to be good, but Michael Cole, when I thought he was going to say he's like a pinata, I guess thought that would be too racist or something, and because he's Hispanic, and said he's like a hung side of beef or hung piece of meat or something weird like that, and I was like, oh, that's not better. So Corey Graves then proceeded to agree with him that that's what he was also thinking. So I don't know, weird.
See, that would make sense if she beat him up with her hands, like doing the Rocky Balboa bit with the thing in the freezer. Like, you could make the argument there.
But she had the stick. I mean,
she beat him with the stick. Like, racist or not racist, that's the obvious thing that you go to.
Right. And
so that's clearly the imagery they were going for.
Right? They had him hung up. Like, I mean,
which means that Dom was okay with it.
Yeah. Which means pinata.
Pinata.
Okay, so
at least they didn't get Oklahoma on the call.
Yeah, oh God. So
pinata, candy, stick, movie, Dr. Death.
So yeah, the match kind of got an overall so-so from me. But that's, every show's got one. There it is. Then we had Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. The match itself was pretty good. The way they built the heat, I thought that Cody was going to take all the heat at first, but then they got Roman in pretty early, and he took a lot of heat. But then Cody got in and did take the pre-Hope, did take the Hope spot heat, did take the hot tag for Roman.
He was Ricky Morton.
Yeah, basically. So Roman came in, he cleaned house, but then the Bloodline interfered, as always, as they do. But then Roman gets Solo down. He's going for a spear. They interfere. Solo spears him instead. And then Solo then takes a long time to kind of set up his little thumb thing. He's got Roman down. He's yelling at him, I'm the real tribal chief. You let me down. You told me I was next in line. You lied to me. He's getting ready to go for the thing. And then, like, there's suddenly in between Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, there's a third guy standing outside the ring. And he's got on a black hoodie and a bandana over his face.
Oh, a black hoodie and a bandana over his face in bloodline interference. I wonder who that could be.
Well, I wondered who it could be too, and then I realized this guy wasn't as tall as who I thought it could be. And then he super kicked Tama Tonga and he super kicked Tonga Loa and he ripped off his freaking hoodie and his a little mask, and it's Jimmy Uso returning. And he jumps in the ring and he's like telling Roman how much he loves him and shit. And then he jumps out. Roman goes for the spear, gets it, pins Solo 1, 2, 3. Then Jimmy gets in the ring and he's telling him how much he loves him. They do the big embrace, huge pop for the embrace. Like the pop for him kicking them too and then revealing was huge. It was really like one of the biggest pops of the night, easily. And then the pop for the hug was easily a point and a half higher. It was just, it was a good one. And then Cody Rhodes gets in the ring and he's got his belt in his hand. And, you know, him and Roman shake hands or whatever. And then Roman and Jimmy leave the ring. And then the Bloodline all get in and start beating up Cody Rhodes. And Roman looks back at the ring. And Jimmy looks at him. He goes, we got to do the right thing. But whatever you want to do, like he's saying this to him. He's like, we got to do the right thing. But whatever you want to do, I'm with you. And Roman kind of looks at him and he looks back at the entrance. He looks back at the beatdown and he goes, all right, come on, fuck it. And they take off towards the ring and they go and they beat down the Bloodline. And then in the process of all that, you know, Cody's dropped his title belt. So Roman picks it up, kind of gives it the look. Then he kind of hands it over to Cody and they raise each other's hand. Okay, nothing fishy going on. And then the Rock's music hits and the Rock shows up. And he doesn't say a word. He just comes out. He stands there for like 2 solid minutes. He gives the people's eyebrow, which gets a pop, just that.
Well, of course it does.
Taps his chest a couple of times and acknowledges the pop, and then he walks away. And so that was it. That's when the show goes off the air. But then today on Twitter, they posted an after the show segment where Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens are talking to each other, and they're out by Cody's bus, and Kevin Owens beats up Cody Rhodes. So I guess we're going to see how that all turns out tomorrow night on Raw. But that's what happened at Bad Blood. I thought it was a really good show. Yeah, I guess it will be on SmackDown. Okay. Either way, we'll be covering it next week. But yeah, I mean, Bad Blood was overall a good show, man. I thought most of the matches were real hot. As far as what I liked and what I didn't like, I really liked the Hell in a Cell match. Bam, it was really good. I really liked Jimmy Uso's return. Freaking fantastic. What I didn't like.
I know where this is going.
Anytime the WWE mentions or has a show in Saudi Arabia, I will not be participating. I'm
not going to expect you to.
As someone who is previously a published journalist, I have a moral difference that cannot be reconciled with the government of Saudi Arabia and the country of Saudi Arabia. So anytime the WWE does anything there, I will not be participating. However, what happened here was they unveiled a new belt that is ugly as sin.
It is. I saw the pictures.
It's ugly as sin. I don't have a lot good to say about this. Okay, the segment started. He says we're going to have a thing in Saudi Arabia every year at Crown Jewel now, where the active champions from each brand will face each other. Those titles will not be on the line, but this title will for men and women, all the titles. But this title will be for the champions of each brand, the men's champion, I guess, of each brand. And whoever wins that match will win this title. So I guess it's going to be a yearly belt that they carry around, kind of like the King of the Ring thing, where they're going to say, I'm the crown jewel champion because they beat the other person. I actually really like this concept, but I hate that they're doing it on Saudi Arabia.
You know what it is? They listened to our podcast and sniped our idea.
Yeah,
for
they
the
did.
Continental Classic. That's what
Yeah.
they did. Clearly.
So either way, they're doing it in Saudi Arabia, which I hate because I really like the concept of what's happening here. However, this belt is ugly as sin. Saudi Arabia is a boo-boo country. I apologize to anybody who is listening to us from Saudi Arabia. I'm sure we are illegal there.
Probably.
But if you are listening to us from there, we love you. We just don't like your government.
Yeah.
But I will not be, other than that, I will not be participating in talking about Saudi Arabia. Now, Gunther came out during this segment and then kind of pointed out Bill Goldberg in the audience and started picking on him. And then Bill Goldberg came over.
I thought he was his favorite.
Yeah, but then Bill Goldberg comes over the railing and a bunch of security holds him off, and Gunther is going to leave, and Sami Zayn attacks Gunther. And that's what gets Gunther to leave. They fight their way out of the arena, basically. And that's what gets Gunther to leave. And then Goldberg celebrates like Triple H holds up Goldberg's hand, and they celebrate like Goldberg did something. Overall, complete boo-boo segment. The biggest black eye on this thing. I will forgive all the crap I don't like about the women's match because this was absolute crap. I don't like it. I'm never going to like the Saudi Arabia thing, and that's the last I'll say about it. But the Goldberg and Gunther thing on top of it, was stupid. The way they had Goldberg celebrating over nothing was stupid. I didn't like it at all. Now, back to what I did like. The overall show was really good. I liked it. The show, it had a good pace. Everything was really cool. I knew what was going on in all the matches. They were all properly built. The finishes of stories that were being finished were good. The progression of the Bloodline story was good. Like I said, I don't really like the new Bloodline, but I like the story, and I like what's going on over there. So bringing The Rock in, what's going to happen? Like SmackDown's going to be a crazy episode because we're going to have like a lot of things going on. Raw too. I'm just kind of waiting to see what's going on there, but I'm really looking forward to like Sami Zayn and Gunther on Raw this week. That's kind of what's at the forefront of my mind now that Bad Blood's over. But yeah, I mean, Punk and McIntyre put on a masterpiece of a Hell in a Cell match. I give the show overall 2 thumbs up. So, yeah, it was really good.
On.
Heck yeah. And now, Hot Tag's over. That tag team match is over. Now we're going to have another one and Call It in the Ring. So, all right, now it's time for our Call It in the Ring segment. Adam, do you want to explain to our dear listeners how this works?
Yes. Our Call in the Ring segment is something different every week. Last week, we told you a little bit about ourselves and about our fandom and how we got to this point in our fandoms. Kind of explains a little bit about what we like, about how we look at wrestling, that kind of stuff. This week's is also going to allow you to get inside our heads a little bit, but in a much different way. The purpose of this whole segment is to be different every week. And this week, we've decided to do something that I've been thinking about for weeks. I'm very excited to share my take on this. But basically, what Aaron and I are going to do, we have been tasked by each other to basically pitch a concept for our own wrestling organization. There were a couple of guidelines that we agreed on. Number one, that it would be a television, that there would be a certain budget. There would be expectations in terms of probably just the one weekly show. What were the other things that we'd agreed on? Oh, and that we would have our choice of 3 wrestlers to basically draft from anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where they are now, whether they're available, whether they're injured or not. We get 3 people basically to build our Fed around, and that we're building a concept. So we're trying to, if we had complete freedom and budget wasn't really a concern, what would we do? What would we want to do? What would we want to do on TV that's not really being offered by the main players in at least the North American wrestling scene? So, Aaron, I am very, very excited to hear your pitch. I will leave it up to you. I'm going to let you go first.
All right. Okay. So for mine, you know, I'm still kind of iffy on what a name would be, so I'm not sure. But I would have a fed with a concurrent. So this is a TV fed, so we're gonna have one show a week, with AEW WWE running. I'm presuming. So we're gonna say Monday, Friday, Wednesday, Saturday. With NXT running typically on like Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights. Also, um, I'd go for a Thursday night show just to in the casual wrestling fans calendar that fits. So a Thursday night show. However, the way I would handle it would be it would be a lot like Lucha Underground, where we have live wrestling and cinematically filmed promo spots and in between stuff like that. And also we're going to film everything kind of over a few days or a few weeks at this one location where we have a studio. However, concurrently with the airing of said season, I would have a live tour going on. So the champions at the live shows or whoever's on TV, we book the live show each night as if the TV show has happened for the week, or the previous show happened. And we would probably run the other 4 nights of the week, or not Sunday, not Monday. So Tuesday through Saturdays, except Thursday because that's the night the show is on. So you run Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, probably each week in a different town each day, kind of old territory style, but concurrent with the season. And then at some point during the year, maybe there's 2 seasons a year, so we have maybe a 3-month break in between or something like that, where maybe promos or reruns are all we're running. If we run new content, it's promos that the wrestlers are doing themselves, a lot like a lot of the indie feds do these days, where hey, you're booked here. The guy who booked you says I need 3 5-minute promos between now and the date you're booked, and they all go up on the YouTube or whatever. So we'd have like stuff like that maybe they can come into studio days or something on the off time, but off time is important. And that's the biggest thing. I want at least a few months a year where the wrestlers are not working and nobody's pressured to be doing anything. I mean, except for, maybe coming into a studio day or two here or there, but very, not a lackadaisical schedule by all means. I mean, the time when the seasons are running, it's going to be a hard, rough schedule like wrestling is, but with the appropriate time off in between each set of these to heal up and be ready for the next go around. And maybe at this point, if somebody doesn't like during the breaks, if they don't like the way it's going, they can be granted their release. Because that's one thing I don't want to do like WWE or AEW does, where if somebody says, hey, I want out of here. Okay, cool. Bye. There's no questions asked. It'd be in the contract.
Independent contract.
Yeah, you're an independent contract. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to go. But aside from the amenities, providing medical care, and if budget's not a concern, travel and all that stuff as well, because I still don't think wrestlers should be paying for their own travel. When WWE is providing Cody Rhodes with a bus and making people like Bailey pay for their hotel room and flights, that's not a good look, yo. Like, pay for their shit, please. And pay them on top of that. Like, don't consider that part of their payment. Like, pay their shit and then pay them. You're going to have to eventually, because Tony Khan's, as I understand, is doing that. So, bro, and he's paying for people to come from England and Japan every week.
Yeah.
I promise he's paying
up real quick.
Yeah, I promise he's paying for Kenny Omega to go to Japan and pick up work clothes.
Yeah.
So, which hopefully we'll get a return soon. But anyway, I think that's that's kind of the vibe. I want to go for a seasonal thing, and a tour to go along with the seasonal thing, and then time off for the wrestlers after the season's over, where we further stories by maybe like a BTE type thing, to further the stories along while we're not wrestling per se.
What is it that Matt Cardona says? It's free advertising.
Yeah, free advertising. Exactly. So
like, it doesn't cost anything to post your own videos on YouTube. or on
Exactly.
TikTok or on Twitter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's free advertising. If you
Right.
have the time and you have the drive, yeah, do it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
don't lose anything by it except the time. So
Right. And now my 3 draft, I mean, that's a pretty good thing for me, and paying for everybody's travel or whatever we got to do. Tour buses are expensive, so are flights, whatever. If we're not talking about budget, whatever they want.
yeah,
Um, for my draftees, though, we can loop it right back. Kenny Omega is my first. Um,
yeah,
I've not
he's a good
always,
pick.
yeah, I've not always
Assuming
been a
assuming
fan.
his diverticulitis is obviously
Is gone,
not going
yeah,
to impact him further down the line.
yeah. And Brock is proof that you can have the worst of that happen and have the surgery and everything and come back and be a proficient wrestler.
That's
So
true. And like my best friend Ben, he had diverticulitis. Um, he's a normie. He's no athlete. Like
yeah,
he's one of us, and it has really impacted him. So there is a part of me that, for his own well-being, kind of hopes that Kenny Omega never comes back to wrestle, because I don't want to see him die in the ring because of some stupid poo pockets.
true,
I
true.
don't like. I would love to see him wrestle again if he could guarantee that he would be healthy. I am a big fan of Kenny Omega, and I'm not going to get down on you for your choice, because this is fiction.
Right,
So,
yeah.
like but I feel like I need to put it out there as far as the real world is concerned.
Mm,
I hope he gets better and does what he needs to do to stay better and stay healthy.
right.
But for the sake of this segment, yeah, that's a good pick.
Oh yeah,
That's a
yeah,
real good pick. I like
yeah.
that pick.
I wasn't always convinced on Kenny Omega, but my brother Zach was always a big fan,
Yeah.
and he kind of brought me around. He was like, "No, you really got to pay attention to this guy. He can make some good matches." But the first match he showed me was the Okada match. It was supposed to be 7 stars, and I wasn't really into that one as much as other people were. Like, I liked it. It was a good
That
match.
one benefits from the having watched the other
Yeah, so I
matches.
didn't watch the other matches, but then like I was coming around, and then that match with Hangman was really good. And I was like, okay, okay. And then he had the match with Danielson, the draw. And I was like, holy shit. All right. Okay. Now I see where the 7 star best bout machine comes from.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. Like, now I'm all North Carolina,
That
like I do it
that match
all.
with Takeshita.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So,
Oh,
so yeah,
my
Kenny
heart.
Omega, number one pick, easily. Just if we're doing fiction and injuries and all that don't matter, he's my number one. After that, see, this is where it gets kind of convoluted, because I have like a solid number one, but who would be my number two and number three? And you got to think about different people and who's out there and what's going on. But
I mean, the problem with it is bittersweet, really, because it's so
yeah,
difficult to choose. But the reason it's so difficult to choose is because there's such a glut of talent out
mm-hmm,
there. There's never been a generation of wrestling this talented across the board.
oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
So,
as the art form ages and more people get into it, from a perspective of wanting to be a part of it and experimenting with new and different things, it grows and it grows and it grows. And
mm-hmm,
so finding that talent, you're never going to be at a loss for talent. You just need to be able to find it. That's
right.
all. It's like what was it in Ratatouille, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can cook doesn't mean everybody has the talent. It means anybody could have the talent. It can
Yeah.
come from anywhere. A wrestler, the next big thing, the next generational wrestler could come from anywhere. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to find them.
Right.
That's
Right.
all.
So that being said, that kind of helps me make my decision, because what I was thinking here was, do I have two people who are currently on TV or on ROH, which is kind of on TV, or on TNA, which is also kind of on TV? That's based on viewership. So do I have one of these people who people know their name? or do I want to make new stars? And I'm thinking a lot about it, and I'm like, you know what? With that response, also, I think new stars. So now, do I pick younger people that are still already on TV, or do I go deep cut and talk about some wrestlers that I know would be fantastic on TV who are not on TV? And that's where I think I'm going. So the two other guys besides Kenny Omega, which is it's crazy to say, like I've got this best bout machine, one of the only 7-star match guys in the world. My other two guys are going to be complete indie guys who a lot of our listeners are not going to know who these people are. But I am going to preface all of this with saying you fucking should. Okay, you should. So I'll go into it. All right. The first one is actually an old friend of mine, somebody I've worked with for years in the business. He predates my time in the business by a couple years, probably. He's still actively wrestling. His name is Justin Taylor. He's called the Living Proof. He's the current, I believe he's the current SCPW champion down here in Texas, but he works at a place called Square Circle Pro, where I also work occasionally. And Justin has been a good hand since been a good hand. Okay. I'm pretty sure he's been on WWE and AEW TV, either as a maybe on. Okay, he was definitely on Dark or Elevation. He was on one of those. He definitely. I can't remember who he wrestled, but he was on there. Justin Taylor has been on AEW in the ring. It's a very good match for what it is. But he's been on AEW. I'm pretty sure he's been a security guy in WWE, like when they go to Odessa and stuff like that. Like he's one of the guys they bring up.
Looks like he was on Tough Enough.
Yeah, he's done some tough. I don't think if he's on Tough Enough, but he did a Tough
The
Enough
Living
video.
Proof.
The Living Proof, Justin Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I found him on YouTube.
So just to give you an idea of this guy's size, he did go to work at WrestleMania week 2 years ago for WWE, and he was in the gym, and he took a picture with Elias and Rick Boogs. Okay. And he didn't look out of place as far as size goes.
Okay.
He wasn't always this big either. Guys definitely worked his ass off to get this big. But I would bring Justin in because he has a way to get over with the fans really, really well. He's a great white meat babyface. He's even better when he gets pissed off and goes full heel. I've seen him as a white meat babyface, but I've also seen him as like when I first met him, he was in this stable. And they were like they were Muslim terrorist heels at the time, and he was like, time. Yeah, he was like the black guy in the group with all the Middle Eastern guys with the little hat on and all that. Yeah. But he was fantastic, man. He was just so good, and now he's kind of some places he's babyface, some places he's an indie worker. He works in a lot of places. Yeah. He holds the title pretty much everywhere he works. Fantastic worker, super good size on him. I would definitely bring him into a national promotion if I had a chance. Just because he's a solid hand. Now, the other guy is still a solid hand, but it's going to be here more for the spectacle. And let me explain that. Oh my gosh. You know what? As soon as I start talking about him, and I've already thought about him, like how to explain him to everyone, I've kind of lost what his name was. And now I feel like an a-hole.
That's okay. We can edit it in so you don't look like one.
Yes, we can. In fact, I might edit this part out.
Make a note.
Yeah, making a note. But I got to remember oh, yeah, I got it. Okay. So the other guy he's a good hand, but he's going to be more for the spectacle. And let me explain that. His name is Mike Schaefer. Mike Schaefer works at Metroplex Wrestling in Dallas. Now, I've heard a lot about Metroplex Wrestling outside of my normal circles because it's kind of gaining some traction down here regionally. Like people are tuning into Metroplex. And so MPX Wrestling down here in Texas, they got a lot going on, but they've got Mike Schaefer. And currently he's not working that often because I believe he actually is moving kind of more into the film world right now. But his gimmick is that he's a movie star and he's got an entourage, and his little tag team partner, Sebastian, who's like half his size, is the director. And so they've got the best picture is the name of their tag team. And they have like this whole entourage of people because they're supposedly, they got their executives and stuff like that. But Mike is a big, I don't want to insult him, but I'm going to say probably north of 300 guy.
Ooh, okay.
He's about 6'3", 6'4". He's tall fella. He's quite a bit taller than
Yeah, I
I
think I
am.
found him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He's a big boy. Okay. That big boy does the.
Looks look good in a suit, though.
Okay. Yeah. He looks good in a suit. Works a great mic. Fantastic mic worker. And biggest surprise, and I don't know if you'll see a clip of this while I'm telling you, but Mike has the highest elevation on a moonsault I've ever seen of someone that size.
Really?
He has a moonsault that stops a crowd dead. Like, wow, this is an awesome match. Holy shit. And silence.
Oh.
Like, yeah, when I was watching it, the first time it happened, I was standing behind the curtain because I was reffing at the show, but I'm standing behind the curtain watching this match, like, because the boys gather up at the curtain at indie shows. We either, if they have a monitor, we gather up at the monitor. If they don't have a monitor, which this place didn't, we gather up at the curtain and we watch the show. So we're gathered up at the curtain. We're watching. He did that shit, and I heard the freaking breath in the gorilla position come out of the fucking room, along with the fucking 400-seat arena outside that had probably 150 or 200 people in it. The breath just came out of the whole fucking building, bro. Like, it was just like, I couldn't fucking believe it. When he got back to the back, I was like, I don't know what to say to you right now because I don't want to offend you by saying something. He's like that I'm the biggest guy that ever did something like that. I'm like, yeah, I've never seen somebody your size, like, aside from Vader, pull some shit off like that. Yeah. And he's like, you're comparing me to Vader. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. So, I mean, wrestlers take compliments really well when you're awkward, because we're all awkward back there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But
I can tell you stories.
That guy, he's good at working a mic. If you don't want to have him in the ring, he's good at working a mic. He could work a mic for someone really easily. I would want him in the ring, though, just on that moonsault alone. But pushing past the moonsault, the guy is a solid worker. So, yeah. So my guys are Kenny Omega, Justin, Living Proof Justin Taylor, and one half of Best Picture, Mike Schaefer, which, since it's Mike Schaefer, I would at least have a manager for him. So Sebastian gets to come too. I personally love Sebastian to death. He's super professional. At a couple of the feds I work at, he does all our video work. He's super good at it. He's always been a really cool guy. And I would have them as a tag team, but since I only get one person to pick, I pick Mike, and I want Sebastian to come in and be.
You know what? I'm gonna make a change.
Okay.
I should have said 3 acts.
Okay, cool.
Not necessarily 3 individuals.
Okay, well,
so if you want them as a tag team, bring them in.
Hell yeah. Okay, Sebastian, for all the reasons I just said, also with Mike Schaefer, I want Best Picture together because they're a fantastic tag team. They play off the big man, small man dynamic really well. Sebastian, even though he's a smaller guy, is really, like, well built and stocky and just like kind of like John Silver with unrealistic proportions. You know, but he's yeah, those arms, man, are just, I feel like he's got implants, but I know better.
Crazy. They're crazy.
Yeah, but Sebastian's kind of like that, but super believable, and also a really good mic worker and an asset to any fed. If I said, hey man, I just feel like the production on these episodes is lacking, I could just pull Sebastian and be like, hey, I'll pay you a little extra. Come give me a hand. I know you're good at this kind of thing. So even though I would have a production team, I have this active wrestler who is suddenly kind of like a Swiss Army knife also backstage, you know, which every wrestler loves that, because if you can't suddenly wrestle and you're good backstage, you get to keep your job. And that's important too. I think the only other rule with my Fed beyond those 3 guys and what I've already previously stated is that nobody loses their job because they have a kid or get injured or we're down in business. If I hired you, and I've already budgeted you in. So if we're down on business, that's too bad. I'm already paying this money. So that would be my big thing. And since budget's not a concern, pay them.
Yeah.
You know, if they get injured, add the time on like anybody would in a contract, because I still want to see that person wrestle. But I'm not going to stop paying them because they're sitting at home, and I'm not going to fire them because they're having to sit at home either. And if I do have to fire somebody for any reason, I'm sure as hell not going to go on TV and tell anybody that I feared for my life, and I'm sure as hell not going to do it by fax, which I think are the 2 biggest mistakes that have ever been made in wrestling as far as firing somebody. I think you should keep that shit private, period. That's not Tony Khan saying that is not why I think it was a bad idea. I think it's just because it should have been private. We fired him. Don't talk to the dirt sheets.
Yeah.
Let's not.
I
Let's
mean,
not.
same goes for McMahon and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, McMahon and Jeff Jarrett,
You know,
same thing. But
yeah.
Bischoff firing Stone Cold via fax,
And
probably
X-Pac.
and X
And
Pac.
X-Pac.
But those two guys during the Attitude Era or pre-Attitude Era, like right when it's about to kick off, firing those two guys.
Stunning Steve was a winner.
Oh, he sure as hell was.
I mean, he wasn't as big winner as Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he
I'm
was
a
still
Hollywood
a winner.
Blonde stan, man. I am a total Hollywood Blonde stan in this. Yeah, hell yes. So yeah,
Some of my earliest wrestling memories involve the Hollywood Blondes, and even before them, the Dangerous Alliance. The Dangerous Alliance was peak good stuff. It was like they were the Horsemen, but they weren't the Horsemen.
Yeah, peak '80s heel stuff right there for sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I see. Like this is why I'm glad that we did you first, because you took it in, made considerations that I didn't make in my pitch. Because you come from inside, having worked in the industry, whereas I haven't. So like my very much like this podcast, I focused a little bit more on the creative side rather than the technical side. For anybody who listening who doesn't already know, my role in this is very minimal compared to Aaron. Aaron is doing so much more work than I am. And it's because he's good at it and he has knowledge about it that I don't have. I am not a tech guy at all. Aaron is doing so much work, and I'm so grateful for it because I couldn't do this. He's allowing me to lean more into my strengths, which is a little bit more creative than technical. And so to tie that, first of all, thank you, Aaron, for continuing to do this. You should get the praise. Okay, you should get this, so please take it.
All right.
You guys, you really don't understand. I am not built for the technical aspects of this. So having Aaron do pretty much all of it it is a blessing for me. And it also is reflected in your pitch, because you worried about the technical aspects of the business side of it and taking care of people, which is one of the things I admire about you, is that you do have that empathy for people. Whereas, especially, I mean, in this hyper capitalistic world that we live in, that the caring about people so often falls by the wayside in the face of making the almighty dollar. And so, like, it's good to know that you considered those things enough to make that part of your pitch. And it also makes me feel a little insecure because I did not even consider that. I'm sorry, fictional wrestlers. That said, I guess I'll go into my pitch. Okay, so my pitch is a different way of presenting professional wrestling that people have kind of gone up to the line with a little bit, but hasn't really gotten there. Since this is a fictional scenario, we're going to pretend that whatever TV execs are letting me on the air are going to let me do what I want. And what I want to do is kind of lean even more into the sports presentation of wrestling. I am a big fan. I love storylines. Don't get me wrong. I love a good storyline. I love great characters, and none of those will be absent in theory from this particular endeavor. But the presentation will mostly be sports based. I want to try and create an MMA style presentation, not so much rings or UWFI, but in the fact that it's going to be divisional. There are going to be equal divisions, and like you look at the UFC, and each of their divisions champion is a world champion. They are their divisional champion. They are referred to as world champions. None of the divisional champions are on any lesser level or higher level than any of the other divisions. The
Right.
featherweight champion isn't seen as lesser than the heavyweight champion simply because they're in a lower weight division. They're seen as equal prizes within the weight division. I want to try something like that in wrestling. Like, there have been halfway measures, and a lot of times, WCW has Cruiserweight Championship. New Japan to this day has a junior heavyweight division, which is generally excellent, but that's two weight divisions, two vast weight divisions,
Right.
and kind of ill-defined, really, to be honest.
Right.
My concept is for there to be 3 divisional champions and then a tag team championship. Tag team championship, whoever, throw them in. It's not going to be delineated by weight. But I want to have, I would probably, for tradition's sake, call the lighter weight class the Cruiserweight Championship. That'll go up to 205 and under. Anywhere between 205 and, let's say, 265, middleweight championship. Anything 265 and above is heavyweight championship. I want the heavyweight championship to be the real heavies, okay? And each one of those divisions will probably, considering the types of talent that generally occupy those weight classes in real life, will probably develop distinct styles on their own. You're going to see probably in the 265 division a lot of big meaty men slapping meat. You're probably going to see in the cruiserweight division, probably going to see a lot of high flyers, and the middleweight is probably going to be kind of a fusion of pretty much everything, because that's generally the weight class that most wrestlers tend to fall in. So I would establish those 3 titles in inaugural tournaments, because you know me, I love a tournament. And I would build those. I would build that up. I would have probably 4 pay-per-views a year. And after the third pay-per-view would end with the announcement that the 4th pay-per-view, which would be mark around the 1-year anniversary, that whoever is the champion of each of those divisions at the end of the grading period, which would be probably up to I would give it probably 4 weeks, up until give a proper 4-week build. Whoever's the champions of those individual divisions, a month ahead of that final pay-per-view, wouldn't have to defend the belts anymore for the rest of the year up until that time, because those 3 champions would face each other in a triple threat match for the World Openweight Championship.
Okay.
I hate the term World Heavyweight Championship when anybody can. It's so ingrained in wrestling culture that people just kind of assume that it's an openweight championship because it's treated like one, but it's not. Distinguishes one. I'm going to make that distinction. It's a World Openweight Championship, the champion of champions.
Okay.
Furthermore, the tag team division would, by implication, be an openweight championship. Because what are tag teams what's the purpose of tag teams if they're all going to be in a weight division? Like, you miss out on those big guy, small guy teams. You miss out on the DIYs on the smaller end. You miss out on the Brothers of Destruction on the other end. It's then in the middle you've got everybody else. Like, that's automatically going to be an open weight championship from the get. But the divisional singles titles are going to be those. Okay. And the 3 people to build those divisions around. Heavyweight side, this was very tough for the record.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Again, there's so much talent. But assuming that he can keep healthy, my main heavyweight star, Keith Lee.
I knew it. Because you stand Keith Lee.
So I love Keith Lee. Please get better soon, big guy. I miss seeing you on my TV. I was there in person for his AEW debut, and I marked out like crazy. When he yeeted Isaiah Cassidy and he screamed his high-pitched scream, I thought that was just the best thing ever. It was perfect. And he still needs his revenge on Swerve, by the way. Still needs it. Hangman isn't the only one that he screwed over on route to the top. That's neither here nor there, though. Middleweight guy. It's got to be Will Ospreay. Other than Bryan Danielson, who I will leave for retirement, go home, take care of your kiddos. That's fine. Do what you want to do. You've earned it. You're arguably the greatest in-ring performer of all time. Go. You've earned it.
Yeah.
So in his because that would be my pick, but in his place is Will Ospreay, who is going to inherit that position. Yeah. Essentially, if he hasn't already, in many people's eyes, he already has inherited the best bell-to-bell wrestler title.
He's fantastic.
He's amazing, and seeing him live is even more surreal because he has that special quality. Like we talked about it a bit last week, but he's great as a heel, and he's an incredible babyface. He is insanely likable. As soon as he puts his real personality out there, it's hard. It's really difficult to not root for him.
Right.
And then the third one in the cruiserweight division, I will give you 3 guesses. And this time I promise I will give you 3 guesses because you're not going to guess it. I'll give you 3 guesses who it's going to be in that spot.
For the cruiserweight division.
Mm-hmm. So 205 or under.
Mm-hmm. Pac.
No. He'd be great though. Love Pac. I honestly feel like he's too often overlooked in best pound for pound wrestler conversation. He should be in that conversation more often than he is.
Yeah.
But it's not him.
Darby?
No. Although I do love me some Darby Allin, and he would be a good pick.
Let's see here. Orange Cassidy.
No, I do stand Orange Cassidy. You and I are both in on the guy with the pockets. No. No. The reason that you can't guess it is because I haven't revealed the other big twist that makes this Fed unique.
Okay.
My third pick is Becky Lynch.
Oh, okay.
This Fed doesn't have gender boundaries.
Oh.
Anybody can compete as long as they weigh enough.
All right.
So I want, and I feel like Becky Lynch would add that star power because nobody is better than the man.
That's true.
I love the man.
Yeah.
Huge fan. From the very instant that I saw her doing a very bad Irish dancing routine on NXT, I was like, that's my girl. Her right there. It spoke to my Irish genes, and I was like, okay, no, this is my girl. I was right on board. I was cheering like crazy. We went, Tracy and I went to Evolution on Long Island, but they should have made that a yearly thing, by the way. Should have made that an annual event.
Yeah, they
But that's
should.
neither here nor there. And I was cheering like crazy in her last woman standing match against Charlotte. And I was not alone.
Oh yeah.
That woman has such a command over an audience and such a respect from her peers. This is a woman who got Stone Cold Steve Austin to sell a stunner from her and lie there like he died. If Stone Cold can sell for Becky Lynch, nobody should have trouble selling for Becky Lynch.
No, nobody at all.
So I understand that the way that the weight works out, that the vast majority of the women in the Fed are going to be in the cruiserweight division.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You ever seen a Candice LeRae match? Yeah, it works. Okay,
Yeah.
like there have been some matches with Candice in PWG, where she was wrestling dudes all the time. They're just amazing. I'm going into this assuming that the audience already knows that wrestling is predetermined. And therefore, it's not that big a leap to have them accept as part of their suspension of disbelief that if someone like Rey Mysterio can beat the Big Show, there's no reason why Becky Lynch couldn't beat Keith Lee.
True.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's fiction, and the point is you're buying in. We'll get you there. We'll get you there halfway. That's the goal. Is we'll get you there halfway as long as you believe the rest of the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my pitch. It's non-gendered wrestling presented in an MMA kind of format, and with at the end of the year a world openweight championship that isn't determined by weight, but basically by who the audience would rather see win. Who do they want to be essentially their ultimate world champion? And in the interim, each of those divisional titles, not one of them is going to be positioned above the other one. There's no, okay, this is your world champion, your intercontinental champion, your European champion, your hardcore champion. None of that. All of your champions are seen as equals, which I feel only bolsters the stock of the believability of your wrestlers and the product that you put on. And for the kicker, mostly to pop you, but also because it's a great name that should be stolen because nobody else has stolen it, and it's just from a freaking EFED. I'm calling it Ring of Pride and Excellence.
Hell yeah. All right.
Because why not? I mean, it's not like the dudes that ran that EFED probably, I don't think they trademarked the name. No. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
Oh yeah. I love that. I really like that idea. The classes and then the open weight at the end of the year. Whoever the fans wanted to win basically wins. You can send them home happy at the big show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there will be storylines and there will be feuds that aren't necessarily for the championship. Most of the focus will be on non-title matches will be in getting into a position for a title shot, like in a real sport, like in MMA, and boxing and all that. But the focus will be on, okay, I want to be in that triple threat match at the end of the year. I got to get there.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate prize. Because that means that I'm better not just in one division. I'm better than everybody.
Right. Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. It's cool. I'd like to see it. Hopefully one day we'll get to see some crazy stuff like this one way or the other.
Tony, pass me the book.
Yo, give us the book, Tony. We'll take it. We will take it, bro. We'll gladly take it. And I'll even run with some of the stuff you're already doing because you're getting better. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Rebounding. Yeah. I mean, there was they essentially last year they tried a lot to be kind of WWE light. Mm-hmm. They really emphasized more of the entertainment. Not that entertainment is bad. I'm saying that more of the more comedic stuff, the stuff that doesn't really have to do necessarily with wrestling. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get me wrong, MJF is an incredible talent. He is a generational talent, as he
Yeah.
claims. But a lot of what he did, specifically with the Adam Cole stuff,
I thought it
was
was
kind of
funny.
hokey. Like,
I
I
thought it was
enjoyed a lot of it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed a lot of it because I am a corny dude myself.
funny.
But it didn't. It that's not the kind of stuff you do with a world champion, you
Yeah,
know,
I feel that. Yeah.
because it almost makes the title feel like it's not important enough to take seriously, you know.
Yeah. Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, if they focus on, you know, characters being what they want to be without shoehorning them into weird situations, you know, that collaborate. I mean, look at the Tony Storm Mariah May thing. It has been brilliant.
Oh yeah. It's
It
been
was
good.
every step of the way was fantastic. You know, so they know, you know, that they can do that kind of storyline correctly. And even though Tony's character is admittedly very over the top, it's to my taste, and I don't mind that, but it's very over the top, and I have to admit that it still works because the storyline that she's in caters to her character without leaning into the most ridiculous aspects of it and requiring that of other people that she's interacting with.
Right.
It's not like the reason that Adam Cole and MJF didn't work is because they were there was no straight man. They
No.
were both two funny guys, and there wasn't somebody to react to it like a straight man would be like, this is silly, this is ridiculous. There was no audience surrogate there.
Right.
Um anyway, that, you know what? That's off topic. So and this is probably not nearly as long as last time, but still
Nope.
probably too long. So
Right.
so
Right.
let's take it home.
Heck yeah.
Uh
All right. Well, that was our podcast for the week. I appreciate everybody who came out to listen to us last week. Hopefully, you come back this week. Hopefully, you come back next week. Like I said before, our shops are up. You can find us at our Linktree under Linktree at Smark Foundation Podcast. You can find us pretty much everywhere at Spark Foundation Podcast. Podcast everywhere you listen, except Apple right now, but we are working on that, and we will have that up soon. And Adam, you want to take her home?
Thank you guys so much for listening. Please, if you do like our content, please interact with us on Twitter. We'll leave. I believe our X Twitter accounts are on our link tree, so you can contact
Yes.
either one of us at our individual accounts or the podcast account itself. Doesn't matter. We'll get a hold of it. Please, we would love to interact more with you guys. So
Absolutely.
tell
Always.
people about us if you like us. Uh, check out our shop because apparently it's up. I didn't even know
It
that
is
until
up.
today. It's great. Uh, yeah, I wanna see some of my friends wearing the logo that I drew. It make my heart happy.
Having my
So
heart happy.
oh, but
Oh
no, for
yeah.
real, guys, though, if you do like us, make sure you tell all your wrestling friends that you, yeah, especially if they want a little bit more positivity in the fandom, you know, please help us boost our signal.
Heck yeah, we're all about it. We appreciate you folks. Y'all have a great week, and we will see you next week before Raw.